Okay. I think we're going through. I figured I'd do yet another live stream. Now that I have internet, I suppose on the days where I don't have anything to do at the end of the day, I might as well do a live stream. Or at least till I get sick of it. So I want to say I've done like three in the past 2 weeks or so. So, let me see. Okay. So once again, we'll do it like last time. We'll just talk about whatever. I don't particularly have anything big to talk about in this one, other than minor details, things I'm working on, not related, other things like that. I will go. Oh, let me put it in the chat. So those of you who are Monero users, you can now donate with Monero. Well, you've always been able to do that, but now you can actually, get a super chat. It'll pop up on the screen and stuff. So link is xmr.lukesmith.xyz, which I just posted in the chat. Maybe I will actually pin it, just for the record. Because I don't want to make you guys use fake, fraudulent Federal Reserve notes to donate. Might as well use fake internet money instead, you know? Okay, so... and temporarily I have the... oh, shoot. It doesn't automatically make that a URL. I turned off slow chat, so you can talk about however much you want, but once the chat gets too big, I'm going to turn back on slow chat. Okay. Alright, so first things first. Next episode of firstly, the episode of Not Related that I did last week on BS Jobs. Where's that book? Did I already put it on the shelf? I don't even know. It's probably over there. But it was actually bizarrely popular for an episode of Not Related, because usually when I put out a Not Related episode, which of course, I guess I started it back in 2018, the podcast. Website is notrelated.xyz, by the way. But I'm pretty sure now... Man, if 2018, that seems like a long time ago, but every time I posted a video of it on my YouTube channel, right, I never expected to get that many views from it. It's always had like a hardcore, smaller audience. But the last episode I did was like pretty popular in terms of how many people watched it and how much... I'm just looking at the YouTube metrics, which you can't necessarily... I mean, it gets more views than some of the other Not Related episodes. But I was surprised how many like new people it reached. So... it definitely resonates with people, the concept of having a fake job, right? Because everyone in the world nowadays has worked some kind of job that you just know, why am I doing this? This is so pointless, right? Most of them are, but, that's just how it is. Let's see. I don't know if there are that many people here today. I think it might just be because of the time I'm doing it. I guess Europeans are kind of asleep. ABCDEF says, can I Venmo you? Yeah, you actually can. My email address is luke@lukesmith.xyz. Let's see. I thought I just... Rudy Hill says, how long we been going? No, I just started. A million years ago I did a stream with Rudy. I don't actually know if he's still making videos or anything. Not lagging, actually in sync. What is this? Yeah, it's crazy. Of course, the bandwidth, I have noticed Starlink, obviously I can stream 720p, but the bandwidth isn't 100% consistent, right? So there will be times during the stream where it kind of, it'll jitter, whatever it is. So jitter, stutter, judder. But, I can deal with that. So. Make sure. So, donation from Tyler. Luke, I came for the tech content years ago, but your life advice and rants really inspired me to improve a lot. Boomer rants and Not Related are actually my favorite pieces. Well, that's good. Yeah, weirdly enough, I do fewer boomer rants than I did. That used to be the easiest video to make because I just got my phone and went outside. But in my opinion, I mean, you guys know me if you've been on the channel for a while. I always feel bad at repeating crap over and over and over again. And, one thing about YouTube, and I've complained about this before, this is just how it is. People always want novelty. They always want the same stuff over and over again. Well, that's the opposite of novelty. But they want things that you just did. You know what I mean? That's what the YouTube algorithm wants. And as far as I'm concerned, most of the boomerangs, I've kind of gotten them out of my system. So I don't feel like I need to do them over and over again. I will say there are so many YouTube channels, including those that are close to me in terms of topics, that will do the same stuff over and over again. And I just can't do that. I have thought about redoing not in terms of rants, but in terms of tutorials, redoing a LaTeX series. Because really nowadays I don't even use LaTeX. I use ZLaTeX, which I mean, basically it's the same thing basically, but it's better for handling Unicode characters, and that's what I use for the Lindy Press books. Which, by the way, I got one in the mail today. I actually didn't make a cover for this, The Secret of Secrets. I think I mentioned this, but I just got I've already found a couple errors, and I think the text is too big. I'm going to shrink down the text. I'm using 12-point font, and when you're using 12-point font, it's just too big for things. Like it's like school paper tier. If you put it in a book, it just looks like too big. So that'll cut like 10, 20 pages off of this if I put it down to 11 point. But what was I saying? Yeah, so I'm actually going to do a couple tutorials I plan within the next week. I might not do a LaTeX tutorial, but I might go through how I make the books on Lindy Press and how I do that, just to show my workflow, or really when I'm digitizing text, or when I'm taking a text that's been clumsily digitized, how do I fix that up, right? And it's mostly using Vim, although, of course, I'm writing in LaTeX, so that's relevant there, so I will do some things in LaTeX, but most of it is actually Vim magic. There's a lot of that stuff. So I'm thinking about, if I think of a particular issue to do a video on there, I might. Another thing is I kind of want to do a video on LF, which I've been using. That's the file manager. It's basically like Ranger, but it's better because it's not written in freaking Python. It's written in Go. And actually just yesterday, I think, I finally pushed the changes to get image previews in LF, which theoretically I could have done within the past year or two, but it was kind of hacky. But eventually, like just in the past week, I got several emails about it. So I was like, screw it, I'm just going to do it because it is doable. Okay, let's see. So the bottleneck, I sort of feel like is my video delayed? It looks kind of delayed on my side. I'm gonna actually move it up. Weirdly enough, the bottleneck for me in live streaming is not actually the bandwidth now, it's my CPU. I think I mentioned this on the... I really need to get like a capture card and maybe use another machine to stream, but it's always me doing everything on the same computer, But it used to be whenever I did live streams, I would just complain about doing live streams the entire time I did them because it's so difficult. I don't know. I know that there are streamers who do it every day like it's nothing, but... Luke, have you completed the biglottic version of Meditations yet? If so, when will it be listed on Lindy Press? I mean, I was working on it. I that's kind of low priority for me, because like there are other biglottic texts that I think are more important to do that are more like scholar. I mean, like Meditations is basically just a guy's reflections. It's not like too philosophical. I mean, it's philosophical in the kind of normie sense of the word, but it's like the hardcore terminology. You don't necessarily need the native language for that. So yeah, I did say that I might do that and I might do that later, but there are other things I want to do first. So another option actually, I could just do a still picture live stream, or I forget my FPS that I'm streaming in. I want to say I'm streaming at like 20 FPS or something. I forget. And I was just like, I want to cut down on bandwidth or whatever. Shoot. Okay, what was I going to change? I'm going to turn off this freaking background thing, because that actually, weirdly enough, I mean, you probably noticed that the background image is like slowly moving. I'm going to pause that. I'm just going to disable that. Oh no, I don't like it when... I'm not going to turn it off. I'm going to let it go and I'm just going to pause it. Where's the pause button? Because, it's funny how data storage works, but if you have like minor pixels just slightly moving around, that actually is extremely... I don't know, that takes a lot more bandwidth than you expect. So I'm just going to freeze the background, and we'll go with that. Let me check donations. So again, donate with XMR if you have it. Of course, you can go to donate.lukesmith.xyz. It's all in the freaking... Oh, it's probably on the side of my... Yeah, whatever. Okay, let me read the chat. George says, gardening channel recommendations. How much of your own food do you produce? Right now, none, basically. I mean, during later in the year, I'll be growing, tomatoes and potatoes and sweet... this year, I really want to do sweet potatoes. and I want to grow enough that I don't have to worry about it. And then certain types of tomatoes, I think I talked about on the other stream, like San Marzano. I just love those freaking tomatoes, and I want to grow some. And then some other things, and I'm actually getting chickens this year. My brother said he's going to get me freaking chickens. Have you considered raising your X264 preset to something faster now that you have more upload? I don't really have more upload. Well, okay, I'm not using FFmpeg if that's... I'm using whatever OBS is using, which I'm not sure what the default is. I haven't really screwed with their settings that much. But, yeah, I still feel like I have a big bottleneck in upload. Like, it's not quite consistent enough. I mean, if I'm streaming off my phone, I can stream 1080p. No problem if I'm in a place with good reception. And my internet here is good. I mean, it's good for uploading videos. It's good for, like, watching stuff and consuming product and downloading big things. But when you're doing a live stream, where if every 5 seconds, if you don't have a constant connection, it'll kind of jitter or something, that's kind of an issue. And there's nothing much I can do about that other than Soylink has to get better. Or I guess I could probably... Yeah, I need to, like, have a permanent mount for it, because I'm basically putting it outside every day and then taking it in when I go to bed, which is kind of funny, but at least it's convenient enough that you can do that. Let's see. Okay, are we back? Are we back? Tell me if we're back. If you see me, say buttercups. Buttercups is the secret word. Put it in the chat if you can see me. I want to see buttercups in the chat. It's going to take a second. Yeah, buttercup. Okay, great. People see it. I don't want to have to log on to YouTube to do all that stuff. So, I forgot the real problem. I found the culprit the other day. I'm pretty sure. The real culprit is freaking Pulse Audio and or Pipewire. And I forgot to stream correctly. I have to kill Pipewire or Pulse Audio, because the audio will take it. That was the issue last time. I totally forgot about that. So that's just what I did. Alright, so let's see. Now... what was that last comment that I got? I think it was just someone talking about that. Yeah, someone just said, yeah, you're frozen. Okay, actually now that I'm going to move to my bigger screen, since I think that's the issue with the in screen. Okay. Alrighty. Much better. Hopefully much better. Buttercups was my MK Ultra Go code. Is it? Well, I hope you don't shoot anyone. Thoughts on Nietzsche's critique of Christianity, e.g. compassion being equivalent to people just having value as a cog in the system? I don't know. That's not how I interpret his writings on Christianity. Which I think a lot of people think that Nietzsche is more anti-Christianity than he actually was. Like, he was more, like, I mean, when he talked about Christianity, what he was really talking about, like, was modern European liberalism, which he viewed as being a function of Christianity, because it was like, it was modeled off of a Christianity without God, right? So most of the stuff he says that people interpret as being against Christianity, it's not really about Christ or his teachings or anything specific, other than, you know, some vacuous idea that, you know, when Europe became cucked, it was because of Christianity. Like, it was like a super slow burn, like 1,000 years after becoming Christian, then things go bad or something. Thoughts on barefoot shoes? What do you mean barefoot shoes? There's no such thing as a barefoot shoe. Go barefoot! Leaders need a Terence McKenna-style awakening. Oh, cringe. Please lower your bitrate. Oh, yeah, that's what I should actually do. I forgot. Yeah, I'm at some extreme bitrate. That's what it was. What's a good bitrate for a 720p stream? Put that in the chat and I will change it. Because I remember, yeah, YouTube was like, you're uploading at a pretty high bitrate. But let's see, 720p. Do you like Bertsam's Dungeon Synth or Black Metal? I saw you had a folder in one NCMPCPP video. Yes, I do have Bert's like all the songs, but I don't like the black metal crap. His more recent stuff is much better, where it's more like ambient kind of sound. Ambient music is usually trash, but 2K, 200. Okay, all right, maybe I'll try that. That's like half of what I have. I'm pretty sure there was some. Okay, let's see. We'll try that. We'll try a lower bit rate. Because it looks like most people said... oh, shoot. Where's the freaking menu? No. Bit rate. Bit rate. Well, the delay... Yeah, you can't just click on the... Okay, anyway. Luke, I've donated through your website. Did you get my donation? I donated a $1. In accident, I donated a... But you can keep... if you donated a $1, I think my website automatically filters out low donations. I want to say the minimum is like either $3 or $5. I forget. So, I don't know. If it gave you a confirmation message, then that's an error, because it doesn't go through if it's lower than that. And I think the lowest on... I forget what the low Monero donation is, but it'll tell you. Have you seen Dan Olson's video on crypto and NFTs? He has a very black pill take on both and would prefer to kill off the blockchain tech as whole. Dan Olson, I don't know who that is. Maybe I've seen that video. I don't know. Depends on what his take is. It might be stupid. It might be... I mean, there's definitely a lot of dangerous crap when it comes to blockchain. Like, most cryptocurrencies are basically people trying to harm the world. I mean, in one way or another. Like, you know, just creating monitoring technologies and, like, unnecessary digitization. Okay, I'm going to lower that bitrate while I try and look up that video. Okay, what did we decide? Stream. I forgot what we decided because I need to find the right menu. Why is this so hard? Oh, here it is. Or output. I don't think I can change it while I'm streaming. I might, if I take a break, I will stop it and I will change the bitrate. Actually, I can go ahead and change that, I think, yeah. Okay, we'll do that. I don't think that's going to make a difference until I reset. Oh, yeah, I think I saw this video recommended, like, the problem with NFTs. I mean, if it's NFTs, who fucking cares? Who cares about NFTs? Like, people criticizing them. I mean, the thing with NFTs is theoretically it's interesting technology, but no one has found a good use for it, so people are just throwing money at stupid things just as a joke. What is the software you use for Monero donations? I mentioned that in the other video. It's a thing that a guy wrote. It's actually on my GitHub. If you go to my GitHub and look up Shadow Chat, it's not originally written by me, but it's a Go script where you can have a view key on a server and it'll monitor the blockchain, and when you get a donation, it'll send you a notification. If people have I don't think anyone has donated XMR this time, but you should get a notification below, like there should be a thing in the live stream saying, oh, Billy donated this much, or something like that. Luke, shoot, am I... Okay. I'm going to briefly stop the stream and start it up with that lower bit. Okay, should be back. I think I'm back. Yeah, looks like I'm back. If you can see, I don't know. Do you have a censor button? What was that? Let's see. If you guys can see me, just say so. Say, I don't know, what's another word? Say, guitar. Type guitar in the chat if you can see me, because I don't want to get back on YouTube and see if it's actually working. Will you ever take Nano as a crypto? It's really interesting technology. While not as private as XMR, I really enjoy it. I'm familiar with Nano, and I'm familiar with, the block lattice stuff. I'm not totally sold on it, but I think it's Like Monero obviously has technology that you need for privacy and stuff like that, and I think what it lacks is, in general, what all proof of work currencies lack, and that is some like not having to use a blockchain, right? And so I know Nano has this lattice block lattice thingy, which is more. I don't know. We don't have to worry about the same problem, but it's kind of proof of stake, and it has some other things that I'm not sold on. But I don't think I'll ever accept it. I mean, I'm going to stick with Monero and Bitcoin. And anything else, I just don't. I don't trust. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to have to, I just don't. I'm not interested. I feel like my computer's running sluggish again. Even though I killed Pipewire. It's worrisome. It's a little worrisome, guys. It's weird because I feel like the last stream I did was pretty consistent. We'll just turn that off. We'll just have a black background. Nice and simple. And maybe, I should just get like one of those soy-tacular pixelated avatars or like some kind of furry image to use for my face instead of this. Then I wouldn't have to worry about people complaining about there being lag because it would just be still, right? One thing that I need on my channel is I need a new profile picture, right? Because I hate the profile picture I've had. I've hated every profile picture I had. And I actually told people in my real life that I know in real life, and I was like, if you ever get a candid photo of me that I can use as like a YouTube profile picture or something, I'll just straight give you $100. Like, because it's gonna be worth more than $100 for me. I just kind of wish I would have that. Yeah, you know what I mean by furry images, right? Because there are all these YouTubers where like their commentary tracks, it won't be like me when I'm like walking around or like talking at the camera. What they'll do is they'll have like this furry, usually some kind of animal or something else, and they'll just have like 5 expressions. You know exactly what I'm talking about, mind you. They'll just be like 5 expressions. It'll be like, I'm a contemplative furry, or here's I'm an excited furry, or oh, I'm like, and so they'll flip from the different pictures and they'll do like a narration of something, and that's video editing, which even that much video editing is too difficult. VTube, VTube is, I think I know what that is. That's when that's when there's like some kind of there's a moving picture where it's talking. I've seen crap like that. ThinkPad is overheating with video encoding. Yeah, I mean, that is what it is. Although the thing is, it shouldn't really be... what am I even freaking encoding with? I thought I, like, deliberately decided... Oh, shoot, maybe I'm using the Vapey thing. The VAPI. I don't even... VA API. Theoretically, that's supposed to make it easier for you, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. VAPI codec... Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea. I'm doing the best I can. The video seems really smooth. If it's smooth to you, that's great. Because on me, like, my computer's just running slow. So maybe I should complain about it. I shouldn't, if I were a good e-celebrity, I wouldn't spend all my live streams complaining about how difficult it is to live stream. Let's actually talk about something else. Shoot. Use an anime picture instead. I could do that. Turn on X 264 preset on fastest. I mean, is that an OBS setting? Because I know that's an FFmpeg setting. I don't really know how OBS freaking works. If it's a graphical program, I don't know how to use it. That's my eternal problem. That is my absolutely eternal problem. So, all right. Talk about Brandon's gas prices. Yeah, actually, you know what? I will say this on gas prices. Usually, and I still endorse this, but I will just say it's very funny when I meet a boomer. I remember, I think it was a little after the election, but before the inauguration. I was at some gas station, and I was filling up or whatever. And this boomer just walks up. I don't know why. I think I had like an orange boomer hat on or something. And so this boomer comes up to me, and he wants to be like, well, once Biden gets in there, the gas prices, they're going to be so high. And I have always felt like gas prices are the stupidest thing that boomers complain about. Because, listen, your country is being destroyed from the inside out. Like, the amount of social and spiritual corruption going on in this world, I mean, it's just horrific. And for someone to be like, well, I'm voting against the Democrats because, like, they're going to be high gas. That's the reason. Like, of all the reasons, it's going to be for gas. That is the stupidest thing in the world. That's such a boomer take because it's a boomer who doesn't want to stand up for anything that's actually important. So they're going to stand up for this kind of notional, oh, it's an inconvenience. It is an inconvenience to pay to pay money, like, for gas. It is a pain, but, that's how it is. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I will say today, I was actually going to drive to a town. Around here, there are no towns around, right? So there's no city within 20 miles of me. I don't know, maybe a little less. But I wanted to go to the grocery store today. And so, how I was going, the direction I was going to, the town I was going to, I was going through a really small town first. And then I was getting to a bigger town that would have bigger grocery stores, right? So I was driving through, and then I saw a gas station, and I guess it's the first time in a couple of weeks that I've seen gas prices, or I don't know, maybe at least take a note of them. And around here they were lower, maybe $3.20 or something, a couple weeks ago. But I passed by this gas station, and it's $4.20, and I'm just like, how did it go up that fast? And at that point, I was like, screw it. I'm not going to that grocery store. I just pulled into basically a dollar store kind of place and got groceries, and that was it. But got an XMR donation from Christianity is Cringe, who says Islam is based. Whoa, cringe. Brandon's gas prices are benefiting me. I own oil stocks. Well, that's great. But, yeah, and I should... I feel like in the past year... Well, for most of my life, I have been so anti-car. Like, I've always hated driving. I hate driving any amount. And, it's only been in the last year or so that I've actually driven about as much as a normie drives. But I feel like I need to cut back down on it now that it's so expensive. Rudy says, I would pay $6 a gallon if it meant Satan wasn't swallowing up the world. Yeah, that's exactly what I say to people when this happens. It's like, please, let me pay $40 a gallon for gas if I can live in a sane society. It's like, how, and to them, if it were an either-or question, would they accept the social subversion for cheaper gas? That's what I'm wondering, And I think a lot of them, frankly, would. Or really, it's just people being cowardly. Like, they don't want to stand up for... Like, they can't say, they can't say all the things that I can't say on YouTube right now. Like, they can't say sensible things, right? We'll just say that. They got to say gas prices. Oh, gas prices. Screw that, man. Liberals back in the day... So, liberal social sciences, they're very funny. Because sometimes, firstly, a lot of social sciences, of course, their methodology and everything is so crap, and it's just them making up studies to get the results that they know that are going to come if they give these particular, stimulus or response to people. It's like people producing studies for propagandistic reasons. Okay, that's basically how it is. So, and some of the concepts of leftist academia, especially the social sciences, that's what I'm thinking of here, have filtered into mainstream culture. So now these people will talk about, white supremacy. That's a concept now. They've memed that into existence. People unironically use that word. Now, everyone laughs at, but people still use that word, right? But, one example, way back in the day, they had this other concept, and it didn't become popular enough. But it's called, what was it called? Symbolic racism. symbolic racism. So the concept of symbolic racism in leftist academia back in, the 70s, 80s, I'm not quite, or maybe even the 60s. What symbolic racism is the concept that, of course, my political enemies, they're all racists, by definition, obviously. And if they have any motivations that are not racial, there must be like some racial into it, right? So wanting low gas prices in a liberal's brain, that would be racist. That's symbolic racism, right? Because it arguably for the same reason that I just said, like boomers are cowardly. They're not going to say anything based in red-pilled about, race or gender or any of that kind of stuff. They're not going to do that because they're pansies. Like, they're not going to do it. But they will complain to no end about gas prices or like the classic issues back in the 60s that were kind of like racial, right? So, there, in America, I guess Europeans might not be familiar with this, but in America there's this really weird time in the 60s where I don't know what exactly was the justification or the reason for this, but a lot of cities decided, here's what we're going to do. There are white kids in our cities that usually live in these places, and there are black kids in these other places. And just for lulz, we are going to bus some white kids into the black sections, and we're going to bus black kids into the black, or we're going to switch them up a little bit, right? So we're going to send white kids to black schools and black kids to white schools. Now, why was that? Okay, it was universally unpopular. Everyone hated it because it's like kids are going to these schools with kids they don't know who aren't like them. It's not fun for anyone. Everyone hated it. It was universally hated, right? But it was one of those things that liberals tried to meme so hard. But, for any sane person, they're like, this is just stupid. Like, why? It'd be weird enough to, ship your kid to some other place for some weird, for them to actually be near someone that they were like. But to do the exact opposite, it literally just looks like trolling, Either way, this is an example in the academics of the era. This is what they call symbolic racism, because it's like, they can't be overtly racist about something, so they're just saying, oh, well, why should the government do that? But it's really secretly they just don't like other people. Oh my goodness, right? It's just the stupidest thing. Getting a little based on the stream here. No, we're not really getting based. This is just like normal stuff. Extra mundane sends him $5. Hey Luke, longtime Zoomer watcher, switched to your LARBs 2 years ago and I haven't looked back since. I was wondering what your hot take on Protestantism is. You seem to really favor more Catholic or Orthodox denominations. From what I've seen, what makes Protestantism pale in comparison? Raised non-denominational. By the way, well, the thing with Protestantism is really just like a heretical sect of Catholicism. I mean, it's like, the complaints that I've had about the Catholic Church in other streams, like how they perceive how doctrine advances or develops, right? The Orthodox is like, okay, Catholics, they're too liberal in terms of they systematize theology too much. And it got to the point in the 1500s where things got so extreme that basically Protestantism really begins as the exact opposite of it, where just they basically throw away all theology, they throw away all tradition, all church tradition, except for the tradition of what scriptures they consider legitimate, and they create this religion that is, there's no unifying form behind it, there's no form of tradition or anything like that. And Protestantism is, I mean, I don't really take it that seriously. I mean, there are some Protestants who, maybe say interesting things. But in general, it's just a reaction to a straw man Catholicism. That's what I'd probably say. And I think once you're more familiar really with historical Christianity, Protestantism is just, kind of goofy. Like, it's kind of like a debilitated, I mean, these guys drink they don't believe in the Eucharist and they drink grape juice for it. It's like, what are you going to say? Like, I want to say there's like a C.S. Lewis or is it? No, it's not a C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis, wasn't he Anglican? I forget. Maybe it's a Chesterton quote where he's like, to be informed of history is to cease to become Protestant. And I think that's like Protestantism, you have to remember that you can, Orthodoxy is primeval, basically. It goes back to the earliest church. And Catholicism, for the most part, they do have that view that we have to expand doctrine and understand more. But in general, the practices go back to the early church. Protestantism is a culturally dependent religious model that's basically based on modern American culture. You know what I mean? And how individuals interpret the Bible divorced from everything else, divorced from how people have interpreted it throughout the entirety of the church, right? So that's why you have Protestants who will deviate in so many respects from the rest of Christianity. They'll say things like, well, you shouldn't baptize children. Now, Christians for 2,000 years have baptized children raised in Christian households, right? But, and the Protestants will develop their own views that that ignore the entire history of the tradition and therefore the reasons that people do things in favor of what they kind of feel. They'll just look at the Bible and squint their eyes and say, this is kind of how I feel it works, right? So, and most Protestants out there who are like making arguments for Protestantism, they are attacking Catholicism. Like, they're not attacking Orthodoxy or just general, unmarked traditional Christianity. They're attacking like this straw man of Catholicism, and they think that everything else has to be Catholic, when that's not the case, during the Reformation, there was a period where Lutherans, or sometimes, I want to say maybe even Reformed churches, they were in communication with the Eastern Church, but, they refused to make they basically held to Catholic doctrine, right? Protestants were like, no, we accept the filioque like the Catholics and some other things, and they refused to, make concessions and come towards Orthodoxy, and so that's where we get the world we have now. Right? JN donates $5. Modern conservatives are still liberals. Only Christianity is based to retake Constantinople and restore the Roman Empire. All right. Yep. Yeah. Now we just need a Constantine the 12th. That's all that's lacking. So. Okay. Alright, I don't see any more donations. Alright. Is the stream still good? I can't actually tell. I haven't even looked at... do you, let's see. What's your thoughts on Adventism and their No, I don't have any thoughts of, like, Seventh-day Adventism. I mean, again, it's just another Protestant sect. I'm not really, like, interested in it. So, like, Protestantism is naturally fragmented because there's nothing unifying it. I mean, the reason you have a million different denominations in Protestantism is because there's really nothing... There is no singular authority or guide for what they're supposed to believe. Now, they'll say it's the Bible, but I think any sensible person realizes that the Bible can be interpreted in many different ways, right? So it's not like a really... I don't know, it's very... Like, Protestants and Catholics and Orthodox can look at, the same passages and interpret it in a different way. So... Any thoughts on sedevacantism? I mean, I've said sedevacantism is like the only sensible way to be a Catholic at this point, because you just have you just have people in. I mean, the popes, quote unquote, nowadays just are so different from what the Catholic Church has traditionally taught. It's not even an issue. Like, if you're a Catholic, you basically have to be a sedevacantist. You know, that's really all it is. Someone's complaining about bots in the chat. Man, just ignore them. Actually, I'll turn on slow chat since you guys are complaining. It's a lot of work. Lot of work to click 2 buttons. Well, it's really a lot of work to click 2 buttons when you have to go to YouTube, and every single freaking click is like 5 hours to load. Where's the freaking edit thingy? Main screen. I totally forgot how to do that. Okie dokie. There we go. Hope you're happy. All right. What was I saying? Talking about sedevacantism, but we talk about sedevacantism too much. Thoughts about MGTOW, JK? Yeah, everyone asks about MGTOW, and I always give the same opinion. It's stupid. Do we need friends? Yes, you need friends. But internet friends are not friends. So, you know, just go ahead and clarify that one. Did you do your duty and get the vax, Luke? Of course I didn't. I'm not even going to joke about that because I feel like some people would, I don't know. If I said ironically that I got it, I think there are some people who would totally miss it. Hey, Luke, what's your IP? My IP changes all the time. Yeah, the funniest thing, one funny thing in videos is when people literally know nothing about tech and you do something, you know, using an IP address like on a local network, like you know, you have 127.0.0.1 or something, or like some obviously local, you know, 192.168, whatever, like some IP address that's a local IP address. And I will literally get emails from people saying, "Oh my goodness, your IP is out there, blah, blah, blah," which is like, even if your IP leaks, it literally means nothing. Like, the worst thing you have to do is, like, unplug your router and plug it back in and get a new IP address. I mean, I'm not hosting anything from my house, so it really doesn't matter. Okay. Weirdly enough, there are actually more people talking now that I put slow chat on. I guess that's the good of getting rid of spammers or something, but... Okay, I don't see any donations. I probably should have been a smart person and, like, actually made that link that I put up there clickable. Or is it clickable? If I click on that... Yeah, no, it doesn't work. Hey, Luke, how many houses did you buy in Cryptoland? Oh, boy. Is that video still up? I think they, I don't know, I think... Maybe they took that down. It was pretty funny. This guy says, "Are you still planning to make that video about people that are only able to think in full sentences? Sounded really interesting to me." Yeah, I mean, word sells, right? That became a meme recently, and I think it's a great meme. I always used to call them word thinkers. You know, people for which they can't... I don't know, it's hard to explain because I don't think in words. They're people who only understand things through language, right? So they can't understand anything unless it's explained to them, and they don't understand things unless they can speak them out, and they don't really have concepts in their brain aside from words. And they think that, like, their concept, they're usually argument people, they like debates, right? Because in their view, since language is reality, then if I can get someone in a linguistic hole, that means that I somehow win. You know, it's you know, stuff like that. They're the kind of people who you might say some passing remark. I mean, like, I know this on YouTube. If I might say something dismissive about, let's say in the last podcast episode, I don't remember what specifically, but I think I said something dismissive of like ANCOMs or something. And there were multiple ANCOMs who obviously, a lot of ANCOMs, and frankly ANCAPs think like this too. They're kind of word thinkers. They would respond to this passing remark, kind of dismissive remark that I'm obviously not looking to talk to you about this, but they will respond with this like, I don't know, this diatribe of word thinking, where it's like, here is all these reasons that this should be true and that and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's not like a good argument in the sense that it would convince someone, but it's one of those things where people make an argument so that it kind of looks good in logical form. You know, oh, look, wow, this guy is talking a lot and listing reasons for things and blah, blah, blah. Now in real life, most arguments like that, I mean, this goes in this is why I don't like talk like a rational person, right? Because in real life, if you're a really rational person, you realize that, the main problems with the way people look at issues are not in their reasoning, but their prior assumptions, their premises, like their, how you can generalize things, right? That's really where the problem isn't in the logic. Like, it's not that people out there are illogical, right? That's not the issue. But a lot of word thinkers have the idea that they are, right? And that they have this, I don't know, priority. Anyway, but also word thinkers or word cells, right? The whole idea, where the concept originally came from, is the fact that a lot of times people will divide intelligence into two categories. Like there's verbal knowledge, and then there's verbal reasoning and spatial reasoning, right? So I will give you my opinion, and this is also the official opinion of the internet. Spatial reasoning is real intelligence. Like, you can't fake it. If you're a shape rotator, you know that you have spatial reasoning abilities. You can't fake it. You can't try really hard to learn more of it. Hey, if you can't imagine things in 4 dimensions, you can't imagine things in 4 dimensions, right? Whereas verbal reasoning is often just it's like something culturally dependent, and I don't think it really correlates with biological intelligence. Like, it doesn't really correlate. I mean, I'm sure you could show me some statistics that say there is some relation, but I just think it gets confounded with the other category. Either way, a word cell is someone who, they are a verbal reasoner, right? But they're not really good at spatial reasoning. Because if they were, they wouldn't be so focused on words. They'd be focused on concepts. They'd be focused on, like, unifying principles and things like that. And, if you're a spatial reasoner, if you're an actually intelligent person, right? Usually you spend most of your time trying to make your thoughts comprehensible to other people. That's a struggle, and that's a legitimate struggle. If your thoughts are more complex than language, that's what you do. Whereas word cells, what they do is the opposite. They want to seem smart, so they take their simple ideas and make them flowery in language. So it sounds complicated. Blah 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 blah. It's like Orwell. Orwell talks about the fact that how annoying it is, the degradation of language. It not just that it's being stupid, but actually that it's becoming pretentious. Because people are beginning to use words, smarter sounding words, just for the purpose of them sounding smart. I think one he talks about is, a normal human says use, a word cell says utilize. Utilize means the same thing as use. It's just like a word that you use to sound smart, right? So if you're a word cell, you want to use language to sound smart, but if you're actually an intelligent person, you have a complex idea, and you want to use language to make it sound stupid, to make it seem like, to make it so other people can access it, right? Of course, I will say that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone who can't explain what they're thinking is, like, super intelligent. That's not what I mean. You might just be, you might need to read more. You might need to be more familiar with how to creatively use the English language, right? I mean, I feel like that. I don't feel like I communicate that well. But I will say, if you don't think in words and you have complex thoughts, that's not a bad thing. And a lot of people, back when people were talking about the NPC meme, I was a little uncomfortable with it because a lot of people would bully quote-unquote NPCs because they don't have internal monologue, right? Now, I assume most people, can think in words, okay? But I don't have a constant talking to my, like, I do not think entirely in words. That's an ability. It's not like something you always have to do. And it's weird when that whole NPC meme started. A lot of people would look, oh, what, you don't have a constant stream of words in your head all the time? That's freaking weird. That seems a little, I don't know, strange to me. I feel like that's something that you would learn from TV if you're watching, I don't know, a TV show where a character is like verbalizing their thoughts. I don't feel like that's an actually real thing. Imagine being a word processor, yeah. That chair looks insanely comfy. Where can I get one? Yeah, it just came with the house. I actually really hate this chair. I mean, it looks nice. It does look comfy. And it does feel comfy. It's awful for using as a desk chair. I need more ergonomic workspace. I have a... Let's see. My desk height is terrible. Let's actually see what my desk height is. It's just like the worst. For me, it's... Let's see. 28.5 inches. That's... How many centimeters is that? What? That's... Is that centimeters? I don't even freaking know. That doesn't seem right. It's coming up. Okay, yeah. That is centimeters. So that's 68-ish centimeters. And then this chair is like super lower. Luke, do you still have the throwing rock? How large is it? You want me to get the throwing rock? I can show you the throwing rock. I'll go get you the throwing rock. This is how I work out. I want to see what you guys are saying about word cells. I'm gonna get the throwing rock because it's right outside. Alright, this is the rock. I'm not quite sure how big it is. Let me look at the picture. Ugh. There it is. Compared to my head. I'm not quite sure how heavy it is. But it's good exercise. I don't want to throw it around in here and screw up my floor. But, yeah, it's a good rock. So that's what I use for exercise. You just go out, pick it up in the morning, walk it around the yard, put it above your head. Actually, that's not very safe, right? But, just carry it around, throw it around. When I have guys over, I'll be like, bruh, hey, bro, you want to play throw the rock? You want to play throw the rock, bruh? Play some rock, bruh. So that's what I do. Yeah, thanks, guys. It is a nice rock. I brought the rock from out of state. When I found this rock, I was like, I know that this is going to be the rock. I found it... Actually, no. Where did I find it? Maybe it's not out of state. Oh, okay. So here's where I actually found it. I found it in Georgia Southern University. I went to my brother's frat house. And it was in the backyard or something like that. I think that's what it was. And I liked the rock so much. I was throwing it around. I was like, I'm going to take it to your house. I'm going to take this rock to your house. And I'm going to throw it. Okay, it's good. We're going to play throw the rock. So I forced him and some of his frat boys to play throw the rock. Okay? And then it stayed at his house for a while. And that's when I was living in Arizona. And then maybe a year later when I left Arizona, I actually came back and lived in that town. And I picked up that rock, and I was like, this is the rock. I'm going to use it. I kept it at my house. And then, when I moved out here, I was like, I'm bringing the rock. I put it on the U-Haul. I brought this rock. It's a good rock. So. The rock crossed state lines. Oh, boy. Luke... you think ever since you got Starlink, you've been on the internet too much? I'm actually not on the internet necessarily any more than I was before. I mean, these nights when I'm doing live streams, these are nights where I just don't have anything else to do. And a lot of times I would use the internet if I were online, but I'd be doing something else or Maybe something more productive. I might be working on a script. One script I need to work on now is for my freaking books, right? So you see, again, Secret of Secrets, I haven't designed a cover for this. They have like this auto, on Lulu where you can auto-generate a cover, which I kind of don't like. I mean, it's okay. Like, this is one of the auto-generated covers where you pick a picture and there are a couple different formats to use. But I want to make a script that can do this automatically and give me more complex backs. I kind of don't like the backs. So I've been working on the image magic script that can do that automatically. So, can you crush a man with that rock? Yeah, you could definitely basically kill someone with this rock. I mean, if it fell on someone's head, like, forget about it. Are you a dog or cat guy? No, you shouldn't have pets. I mean, you've probably seen on my videos, there is a cat that lives in my house that I insist is not mine. I mean, I feed it. It's my brother's cat. He's never taken care of it. They just left it at my house. So it might actually be inside. I don't know where it is. Most autistic rock story I've ever heard. Hey, it's a good rock. Don't you wish you had this rock? It's a good rock. What date estimate for when the Secret of Secrets will drop on Lindy Press? Very, very soon, because that and the Alchemy Reader. Well, the Alchemy Reader might be a little more, but here in the next episode of Not Related, I want to talk about both of them. I'm kind of double dipping, right? Because my two projects are going to be on the same page. Also, I can probably sell more of them if I do a podcast episode on them. But this one is basically done. I just need to design a cover. And there were one or two things I wanted to change. I think I mentioned earlier on this stream that I'm going to change the text size. But and there's like a graphic that I need to fix somewhere. Yeah, I kind of screwed this one up. Like, yeah, I got to fix that graphic. It's supposed to be like a circle, like with words pointing to other ones. I'm trying to think what else. So one weird thing about there's this one thing. The one thing I couldn't find for this book. Okay. So I will say, I don't know if you guys know. You probably know Styx Hexenhammer. You know that guy? Like he has like a YouTube channel and stuff. So one thing that he used to do, he used to actually reprint books like I'm doing. So he did it the lazy way, and he also did it the cheap way, where he would just take, I think, PDF scans or maybe digitized copies and just use like Amazon's crap. Like he doesn't use LaTeX, he doesn't format them all nicely, but he'd sell them super cheap. He actually has the Secret of Secrets on sale, but I will go ahead and tell you, his sucks and mine is better because he's using like the, I mean, he probably doesn't know any better, like, at all, but he was using like some English version that was translated from a Latin version that's literally like half of the text, because there are some Latin manuscripts where like half of the text is omitted, like including some of the more esoteric stuff, like the onomancy sections. It's like divination based on a person's name. And some of the potions and other things. Like, there are a whole bunch of things that were omitted in a lot of Latin texts. Whereas this one is based on the earliest Arabic that we have. And it has the whole thing. The only thing that it is lacking is something that I've never been able to find. There's a section on talismans where there are some Kabbalistic symbols that I couldn't locate. Because the version that I was using basically just said, here are some Kabbalistic symbols, and they didn't include them. So, but, it's fake anyway. Oh, the story of the Jew and the Zoroastrian, that's a good one, right? It's basically a story about how a Jew and a Zoroastrian meet each other. It's supposed to be about, how you pick an honorable minister. And the Jew says to the Zoroastrian, here's my religion. I worship God. And my God says that I'm supposed to be nice to all of my religion mates, but no one else. I'm not supposed to care about you. I'm supposed to, like, own you, right? And the Zoroastrian, he has the cuck philosophy, right? Because he's like, oh, no, I got to be nice to everyone. And the whole story is basically the Jew says something like, oh, well, then you should give me your camel and your water and all this kind of stuff. And the Zoroastrian's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And so the Zoroastrian basically keeps cucking out for the Jewish guy, and he ends up stealing all his stuff. So the Jew goes off with his camel, and then the Zoroastrian is just like distraught. It's like this guy took advantage of me, obviously. But eventually they're walking in the desert, and he finds the Jew has fallen off the camel, and he's broken his leg, right, and he's dying. And the Jew's like, oh, you have to save me because that's your religion, right? You do good for everyone, right? So the Zoroastrian is like, you know what? You're right again. I'm gonna do what's most noble, and I'm gonna take you. And he takes him in, and he takes him to the city to get medical care, and then the Jew dies. The end. And the Zoroastrian, the whole point of the story, right? The Zoroastrian eventually gets promoted to some big minister because the government hears how honorable he is or whatever. Anyway, it's supposed to be a story about even if you cuck out. Okay, a lot of the Zoroastrian, he cucks. Like, he kind of gets taken advantage of, right? But if you're being noble, you will be rewarded, right? So I guess this book is anti-Semitic. I don't know what that is, but anyway. I'm trying to think what else is in there. Yeah, a bunch of stuff. You'll just have to see it. When I do a not related episode on it, that's like one of the weird stories in it. The Jew and the Zoroastrian. Or I translated it as Zoroastrian. In the Arabic original, it's a fire worshiper. And when they said fire worshiper, they usually interpret that as Zoroastrian. There are a couple terms that I modernized or gave more unambiguous English readings of. But, for the most part, I kept it the same. This was actually translated, I want to say, in the 1920s from Arabic. And it was published. Thankfully, now it's in the public domain. So, let's see. Okay, I think my chat froze. Hopefully we're still there. A Jew and a Zoroastrian walk into a bar. Yeah, well. Lindy Press Humble Bundle. Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's what it is. But, yeah, the thing is, like, I got all these books on, like, 99% completion. I gotta finish them. Do you take requests for Lindy Press? Yeah, I do, but, I mean, it takes me a long time to do everything, like, to make them all, but, do you speak Arabic? No, I don't speak Arabic. This is someone else's translation, but there are a couple terms, in that case where he basically didn't translate some words. And I wanted it to have a more natural reading, so I'd go through, okay, how should I translate this? There are other cases like that. For example, the Arabic original has the word Rumi, which at the time, a lot of Latin texts translate that as Italian because it's related to the word for Rome. But I want to say I translated it differently in different contexts. It refers to Eastern Rome because that's how the term was used in Arabic at the time. It's talking about, the Eastern Roman Empire and kind of really Asia Minor as a geographical place. So there are a couple of cases, Someone said XMR donations aren't going through. I do have an XMR donation. Oh, sorry, I haven't read them in a while. Luke and Joyer sent in some XMR. What's your opinion on the idea that capital is a positive feedback loop and that communism was a cybernetic reaction, although ineffective to the phenomenon? Nick Land's perspective, as far as I know, also trying to get my brother interested in cybernetics. Well, it depends on what you mean by cybernetic reaction. I mean, cybernetics is a kind of, I don't know. I'm not familiar with Nick Land's view on this particular issue, like what you're really looking on. So I can't really give you an opinion on it. But, I mean, Schumpeter definitely has the idea that capitalism is kind of a positive feedback loop. I think I may have talked about that in the podcast I did on capitalism, socialism, and democracy. But his idea is that capitalism is distinct. I mean, this is similar to Marxist ideas, but obviously, in terms of politics, Schumpeter was kind of the opposite of Marx. But, the idea was like capitalism is a social structure that's kind of an antisocial structure where it consists in, people, it consists in renovating how the world works and like constantly changing things. It's not based on stability, it's based on change, right? Extra Mundane sends in $5. Thanks for the answer. We'll definitely think about that more in the future. That was Cardinal Newman you quoted there. Oh yeah, that sounds right too. He was he used to be a Protestant who converted to Christianity, to Catholicism. I have his book. Where is it? On the Development of Christian Doctrine, which actually talks about what I just talked about. Where is that thing? It's a really small book. Maybe it's on the shelves over there. I don't know, but yeah. Teague says, what's your opinion on music? What kind of music do you listen to? Is it a good idea to listen to music all the time? Is modern music or certain types of music detrimental to one's mental state? I don't listen to music. I don't really understand why people listen to so much music. I don't get it. Like, it's not an addiction. I mean, I definitely feel like people are weirdly entranced by it. And I think it's kind of weird, but it's almost like it's so alien to me why people obsess about music that I can't even understand. Like, I don't really know what's going through someone's head who's like listening to music all the time. From my view, music is almost like a psychic deadener. It kind of destroys your mental space. It's sort of like listening to like a podcast all day. So there are people who do podcasts like 5 days a week, where it's just them talking, and people just listen to these people talk for hours on end, right? It's nuts as far as I'm concerned, and I just consider it. I mean, I just feel like people do that so they don't have to think something in their own brain. Like if they're perturbed by the solemnity of solitude, you know what I mean? It's a little strange to me. Vince says, "Hey Luke, I've been using LARPs on my laptop, and I at least want to give a little and I want to at least give a little. I had a question with VPNs, and more specifically now Starlink, as I don't trust my ISP with my data. I currently use Molvad, but now there's some good choices out there. There's some good choices out there. Only really use Molvad because I send cash in the mail, and they add money to my account. Do you use any VPN in specific? No, shouldn't use a VPN unless there's something specific. VPNs are. It's almost like insane that VPNs have like taken over the internet, but they do. I mean, if you don't trust your ISP with your data, I don't know why you would or wouldn't, but you are not changing your trust level by using a VPN. You're now just paying some other party to have your browsing data instead. I mean, VPNs really make no sense unless you are specifically trying to avoid some local block on you, right? Like, oh, there's a site that's blocked in my country, in which case you could just use a proxy or something else. VPNs, like the real reason VPNs exist is not because there's a reason to use them. It's really just there are so many cloud computing server systems out there. They just don't know what to do with their computers, so they just say, oh, let's like route internet traffic through us and charge people for it and say it has something to do with privacy when it really doesn't. You're just paying someone to have your internet data as opposed to someone else. So unless you specifically, so for most people, VPNs are absolutely useless, worse than useless. They cost money, and they're liable to be honeypots, right? I mean, I wouldn't trust your ISP per se, but it'd be even weirder if you gave your data to someone who says, oh, hey, if you care about privacy, give us your data. I mean, that smells like a kind of a honeypot thing. I mean, I don't really think it's like a planned honeypot. It's just one of those, there's not really. Okay. After watching you, Mateus says, after watching your video about identifying with his job, I remember this. I worked at this company, and there was this guy which only talked about web programming, and his personality was totally based on this, to the point that he went to work in person just to talk to others during work about personal web projects. His contract was fully remote, and his biggest achievements were doing his great wagey job and receiving Twitter responses from framework creators. Cringiest guy I ever met there. Yeah, can imagine a bunch of wages on Twitter are kind of like that. So, yeah, a lot of people are like, it is nutty. I don't quite understand it, but only use VPNs for torrenting. I mean, even torrenting, when I torrent, I never use a VPN or any of that crap. I mean, I guess I'm not torrenting anything. I mean, even in America, which allegedly is, cares the most about copyright laws. Listen, I know people who get dozens of those copyright notifications. Oh, you downloaded this movie. Oh, well, you better be nice and not do that again, or we'll turn off your internet. Listen, it's part of law that ISPs have to send those things out, but ISPs will send out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those before they turn your internet off. Realistically speaking, I've never in my life heard of anyone who lost their internet due to torrenting or anything like that. And yeah, way back in the day, back in like 2004, you might get sued by, I don't know, Marvel if you torrent a Marvel movie. I mean, they didn't exist back then. But nowadays, they realize that's like really bad press if you do that. So, okay. Yeah, I'm hoping the XMR donations are still working. I guess we did get 2 of them. Okay, never mind. It's probably just like on the other stream. I guess I put Monero in the title, so a lot of people like specifically came to give Monero or something. But okay. Oh, I'm gonna check the chat. Would you download a car, Luke? Yeah, I actually would if I could. How to not be a degenerate by not being degenerate? I don't know. Since watching YouTube is wasteful, why is your content on it, or is it not? Either way, why is it? Why is it because you keep thinking? I mean, when I say watching YouTube is wasteful, I mean most people when they're on YouTube. Okay, well let's put it this way: why is my content on content? Stupid words. Why do I put YouTube on? Blah, blah. Sorry, my brain is collapsing. So if I put my videos somewhere, they're not just for passive consumption, right? I guess the concept, like if I say something like, oh well, watching YouTube all the time is bad, which is trivially true, right? That doesn't somehow mean that it would be good on some other site or something like. It's the fact that people are there for hours on end, doing nothing, constantly clicking related videos, just passively consuming infotainment, right? So there's nothing. I mean, if someone, like most of the videos up on you, well, I don't want to say most, but many of the videos on YouTube, right? They're there for a reason. Like many of them inform or do something else like that. So it's not necessarily the videos that there are many inane videos on YouTube, and maybe most, I don't know, but it's really the users. It's really the onus is on the user to not use YouTube in an addictive way, right? So if you're sitting around all day just watching the same crap, that's a little weird, right? And that shouldn't be difficult to understand, so either way, when I put videos up, it's not as if I put my videos on YouTube and then they become tainted because this is a site that people watch a lot. No, it's like, are my videos making people, want to stay on the platform and keep watching stuff? I don't know. Maybe they are. Even if they are, maybe I should stop making them. But, I like to imagine at least that most of my videos thematically tell people that real life is not on the internet. Real life is not YouTube, I hope. And that's why I don't mind, taking months breaks from YouTube like I did, a couple months ago. But, I have had a very severe YouTube addiction since I was maybe 6 or 7. It's funny to think there are people so young that YouTube existed when they were 6 or 7. When did YouTube even start? Oh my goodness. Like how old was I when YouTube... I mean, I remember when I was maybe 16, I remember YouTube existing. It was probably... And that was probably around the time that Google bought it. I don't know. Why do you say owning pets is bad? What is the function of a pet? Like... There are many reasons to have animals around. That's what a farm is. But, like, pet ownership is the idea of having an animal in your house just to do nothing, just to look at it, just to, have fun as some kind of decoration. I mean, it's really just people who, like, aren't having children. So it is... I mean, it's in the same way that the internet is a hyper-reality that gives you the simulation of having friends. Pets are the same kind of thing, right? When a lot of times people are using them because they have some vacuousness in their life that it would be better if they filled in better ways. YouTube was 2005. I don't know. Autistic take, yeah. Autistic reasoning, yes. I am beyond the normie hordes who think with their emotions. I am autiste. What are your thoughts on System D? I don't know. I haven't used it in years. I've been on Artix for who knows how long. Why did we domesticate dogs? Many dog breeds exist for a reason. But there are many of them that don't. Like, there are many dog breeds that are just, like, cruel abominations that men have artificially selected. Like pugs that can't even breathe properly and slowly asphyxiate during their life. That's sad. And, I don't know, that's what pet ownership gets you. So. Would you ever work at YouTube? No. Pope Francis agrees, lol, pet parents are not real parents. Wow, first base thing Pope Francis has ever said. Pope Francis. Let me check donations. I don't think there are any new ones. If anyone has any trouble with the XMR one, just put it in the chat. I'm always paranoid about testing anything cryptocurrency related, because you have to, like, send transactions and crap. How do you obtain Monero privately? That's my issue with bothering to obtain. I mean, what do you mean? Like, there are dozens of sites where you can just swap any other cryptocurrency for Monero, right? So if you have Bitcoin, you can just go. I mean, okay, so go to. I want to say Monero.how, and that is just a Monero site that will give you. It'll give you a list of swap places you can go to. You can just search. Let's see, swap. Just bringing up Uniswap. Let's see. Okay, yeah, there's a section that's like exchanges, like Bitcoin and Monero exchanges or something like that. Let's see. I think I reordered the site a little bit since the last time we'll search for BTC. Yeah, converting Bitcoin to Monero. So even things like Shapeshift and Changelly, those I don't think you have to sign up for them. You might want to double check. But you can just send, you don't have to sign up. You can just swap any other currency for Monero, and nothing too weird. So yeah, just get any other cryptocurrency. Get, I don't know, Bitcoin or Litecoin or Bitcoin Cat, doesn't matter, and you can swap it for Monero there. Like if you don't have a Know Your Customer exchange for Monero, and even if you obtain Monero non-privately. Once you move it around, like, it's private, right? Of course, maybe you just don't want to buy it. I don't even know what KYC exchange. I know that there's some KYC exchange where you can buy Monero, but I don't know about it, right? I did, I think I mentioned it earlier in the stream, but I'll mention it for everyone. So I did an interview with Kevin Wad, who's like a Monero YouTuber. We recorded a live stream over the weekend, and I think it's going to be up on his channel, and then I think I'll put it up on mine. So he has a smaller channel than mine. I want to say he's like less than 1,000 subscribers, but which I was surprised of because I've seen him multiple places. But I know he was on Monero Talk and some other things. Do you like whole milk Greek yogurt? I mean, I make it myself. I don't know what I mean. I don't like slim milk, Greek yogurt, because slim milk isn't even milk. How long was the gap between you deciding to move into the country and you actually moving? That's a good question. Probably, let's see. I probably decided around 2016, I would say. And I probably moved out, maybe it was like only 2 years. It seemed like a whole lot longer. But I guess I did move, I did buy rural property in 2018. I think that's when I did. So yeah, it was pretty quick, which it seemed like a very long decision that I did a lot of stuff in. I thought very slowly about it. I was in, I actually moved several different places before moving out into the middle of nowhere. But once I was set on, I guess I did it, and I'm glad I pulled the trigger where I did. I don't want to turn people off from doing what I did, but it's more difficult now just because prices have gone up, right? But you can still do it. It's still a good investment, but. Yeah, because I think around 2016, that's when I was like, well, screw it. Like, things are so bad. I don't intend to stay at the university much longer. In fact, I ended up staying longer than I expected. But then, yeah, I guess I made arrangements. And I want to say 2018, by the time January 2018 pulled around, I didn't even know where I was going to live. Because I think that's when... I mean, you guys can check my channel, because I did do videos on this stuff way back in the day. But I think I did a video and a stream when I was in Tennessee looking for land, and then other places looking for land, and all, but I eventually made my decision and pulled the trigger on it, so... Was losing your hair a very painful process? No. I mean... maybe I should do a video on that, because when I still had hair, I probably really cared about it. But I don't really care about it now. Like, I don't know how to describe it. It's a bit, like, when I was young, when I was in my early 20s and I could tell I was going bald, I was very worried about it. I was like, oh my goodness, like, this is going to be really... In reality, once you shave it, I mean, it's going to be better than, like, holding on to it, frankly. I mean, there are some realities you have to come to grips with. You are going to look like a different person. That's number one, right? I don't look like I used to look like. Okay? I don't look like that. You see that? That's what I used to look like. I don't look like that now. Okay? So, that's just gonna happen. You're not gonna look like yourself. And it's even weirder when I shave all my hair here. And like there are benefits too. There are minor benefits, but losing your hair is bad. I consider it bad. Like I would like to have hair, but it's best not to be butthurt about something you can't control, or even worse, like do fruitless things to try and drag it out. That's extremely stupid. And yeah, now I'm totally content. When I was, I think when I first started shaving, I would shave basically every day. Like, you see how, you can see my hair here? I was like, oh my goodness, I don't want to have that. Because I was like, oh, that's going to make me look old. Or something like that. I don't know why. Like, shaving your head completely is better. And I don't know. Either way, screw it. I don't even think about that anymore. I don't, like, who freaking cares? Like, it's been so many years of me not having hair that I don't think about it. And I'm just saying that because I know that there are guys who are balding who give way too many craps about it. I have thought about doing a video of it just because, whatever. But bald equals high T. Yeah, that is true. I mean, if you're not balding, you're basically transgender. Which is funny because there are many transgender people who are balding. Like that meme, I don't know, there's some picture that people post like that. You don't need to come to terms with it. Just ask Tim Pool. Oh yeah, he wears a beanie every freaking day. That is cringe. And I've always been anti-hat, even before I started losing hair. I was like, hats are stupid, And I do feel like, if you go back to my old videos, I want to say back in 2018, again, when I moved out into the country, there was a period where I would wear glasses on my head all the time. And I don't, that was just like a reflex, but I'm sort of thinking maybe it was like me wanting to have hair. It's like, I want to have something on my head. But it just looks stupid, frankly. And I was just like, yeah, I'm going to stop that. I actually lost those I didn't lose them. The mail lost them. I sent those highly expensive glasses back in to get fixed, those sunglasses. And they freaking lost them in the mail. Stupid. Is Luke Smith even your name, or is it a pseudonym? Ooh, that's a good question. I've seen the pic of you with a Rage Against the Machine t-shirt. Yeah, that's a good one. I used to have that on my website. I mean, that's probably where you saw it. I used to have maybe a dozen or so pictures of just me at different periods of just random pictures. Just to do it. I don't really anymore. I kind of want to depersonalize my website. I feel like even having one picture is maybe a little much. I might, as I said before, I want a better profile picture. I need a more current, better looking one that doesn't look like a dweebish one like the channel icon I have now. But I have so few pictures taken. For someone who has much of his life recorded on video, I have so few images of myself. And that is actually true of the past 10 years of myself. Because you guys have known I'm not a cell phone person. Glasses on head Luke was the best Luke. Well, there are draws to it, but I kind of think it looks dorky. What I do think is really bad in that period is when I only grew my hair right here. So freaking gaunt. And frankly ugly, because I was so skinny, and I didn't have, I had this weird hair, and I had the glass. I just look back at it dude, I look so stupid. Weirdly enough, I look kind of younger and, I don't know, better now, Frank. It's really because I put on weight. I'm actually close to 200 pounds now, which is, I used to be super skinny, but now I'm finally putting on weight that, is not too bad. It's The Rock. It's partially The Rock, Did you fix the transmission seating stuff? Yes and no. There's a period where I got it working, and then I tried something again, doing it the same way, and it didn't work. So I'm convinced that no one ever. Let's see if it works now. Yeah, it's not gonna work. Nope. It's stupid. I don't know. I think it worked once when I added the files before I added the torrents to the folder they're supposed to be in. I think it worked. It screwed up. Now, the reason I wanted... Actually, you guys can go to notrelated.xyz. And I am finalizing some changes to... I've basically entirely moved the thing off of libsyn. And I just haven't... I haven't changed the RSS feed yet. I'm going to in a second. And I want to provide torrents for all of the episodes of Not Related, including, once I finish a season, to have a torrent for the whole season. So if you go to the website, if you're on a desktop, I recommend pull it up. Notrelated.xyz. So you can see the cute stuff I have. I'm using a GNU rec file that actually might be worth doing a video on. It's cool because it's a file format that's kind of like a database and kind of like a text file. It has some of the benefits of both. But I have a script that goes through it. That's where I keep all the information about my podcast episodes, and I have a script that goes through it, and auto-generates this website. And so, like, you'll see the different episodes. They'll have time codes, and they'll have, like, readings. Not all the episodes I've put time codes up for, which I need to do. And not all of them I have readings for, but all of that is automatically generated whenever I run the script. And the script, I haven't switched over the RSS feed, but the script also auto-generates the RSS feed, too. So that's pretty cool. So that's just something I've been playing around with GNU rec files. Where's the chat? There we go. Still talking about heights? Are we talking about girls or boy heights? I'm 14, 5'11", and 210 pounds. I do powerlifting, but whenever I meet someone and tell them I'm 14, they are surprised. Is the world becoming more soy? Or do I live in the wrong universe? I mean, you might live in the wrong universe, but it's also becoming more soy. It's actually really funny to look back at pictures of old people and just how weak we are compared to them, you know? You know, it's vegetable oils and sugar and all that crap that makes people, you know, die at a slow rate. What kind of notes do you make for Not Related? Your delivery seems off the cuff, but still very structured. Ooh, that's an interesting question. It's been different. Like, at the beginning, I had a lot more notes, and I did a lot more cuts. Like, I would talk for 5 minutes, and I would get nervous, and I'd have to stop, and I'd talk about something else, or I'd run out of breath. But now, I guess I've evolved as a person more, and it's easier for me to talk for longer instances. Now, nonetheless, it's pretty easy for me to, you know, just write one or two, like 5 bullet points down with maybe sub-bullet points, and I'll remember all my anecdotes and go from there. Like, I can kind of do that. Like, I think in this last episode, I may have broken it up. I broke it up at the break, obviously. And I think before the break, there was a break in, you know, there was like a break in the middle of that or somewhere near the end of that. And I think I re-recorded the ending as well. So I guess you could say I had 4 songs, 4 audio files, 3 breaks. The last one was really just because, not because I wanted to re-record the end, because I wanted to add and change some things. Are your fuel prices going up, Luke? Yeah, I just talked about that. Went up like $1 in the past week for gas. It's crazy. Would you marry someone older than you? Nearly impossible to imagine. No, I mean, like, especially, I mean, if you're like 18 and you're getting married, I don't think it's a big issue if a guy marries a girl that's a little older than him. If you're really young, but if you're like mid-20s or further, you should marry a girl like a little younger than you. I mean, if you're like 40, you should marry a girl like significant, like 30 or something or less. I think Varg's old recommendation was that men should get married at 30 to women who are 20, and I kind of agree with that. Like, I think that's a good thing. I mean, obviously nowadays it's a little weird if you have age gaps, but it's less weird. It's less weird in a place where I live, right? And especially if you're not a coomer, like if you're not dating a girl to have sex with her, if you're dating her to like marry her, it's a lot less weird. You know, if you have, you know, some kind of age gap. That's the issue. Like, a lot of people on the internet will talk about this weirdo stuff, like, you know, age of consent, and the reason that's questionable is because they're all freaking coomers and they're just interested in having sex, right? Yeah, but no, I mean, girls who are 30, they have a chance of getting married, but it's probably going to be to an older guy. You know what I mean? You know, some old divorcee or something. I don't know. But like, I wouldn't marry. I mean, it's funny. Like, when you get to 30, this is the funniest thing. Because I remember back, you know, there were girls in high school. It's like, oh yeah, she was cute. Why didn't I ever make a move on her? And now, like, they're 30, and it's like, I don't know. It's like, Just date a college girl when you're 70. I don't know. You got to draw the line somewhere. Yeah, I don't know if I support that. I would say now, like, I'm not comfortable. Well, I don't know. LMAO, date a girl, cringe. Yeah, that actually is true. When I say date, I mean consider them as a marriage partner. I don't mean take them on dates and like da da da. I mean modern, like the whole concept of here's my long-term girlfriend. That is basically the worst thing you could possibly ask for. Yeah, if you're not, I don't know, people who are not intending to marry are just, you know, they're Tinder users in denial, you know. I'm a big fan of your blog. One of my favorites was the one about Hermeticism, asceticism, and the Hermetic answer. How long does a typical post or essay take to type up? Well, that's the funny thing. All of them basically just take an hour or so. It's just an issue of if I don't complete it in that hour and I put it off, I'll get to it later, and I usually don't. So it doesn't take that long, right? It's just sort of kind of off the cuff things. And a lot of times I'll start writing something and then I'll realize, this is better as a video. But I do feel like I should write more for it. Oh, let me check donations. I haven't checked them in a bit. Sorry. Luke Skywalker sent some XMR. Have you heard of multi-signatures, specifically K of N threshold Schnorr multi-signatures on Bitcoin after the Taproot upgrade? SIGs are aggregated and look like any other regular transaction. Yeah, I mean, I know about that. But I think it's funny that people will say that that is some kind of big privacy gain for Bitcoin. Like, you know, a lot of people, like normie Bitcoin maxis will hear that, and they'll be like, whoa, man, we have Taproot, we have privacy, blah, blah, blah. When, I mean, in reality, it's just what you said. It's like, okay, so there are these transactions, and they all they look like the same type, right? I mean, you're still seeing the same movements from the same accounts, from same everything else. So I think people definitely exaggerate what Taproot... I mean, it is an improvement, but it's not like a privacy improvement, like that a lot of people think. I mean, it's a very minor privacy improvement. Greta Thunberg sends in some XMR. Justin Murphy debate when? Yeah, I don't know. Well, Justin Murphy, for those who don't know, he there was a thing we were going to do an interview, like an in-person live interview. He was going to come to me, and we were going to go somewhere, and I don't know, it'd be a public event. But that never ended up happening. I think the onus was on him to email me when he was going to be around. He said he had family, like within 100 miles of me, which isn't that close or something. So if he decides to come, you know, he can do that. Well, it wasn't supposed to be a debate though. It's supposed to be where we do something mostly egocentrically focusing on me, because usually what he does is like interview people. So that'd really be what it is. So sent in, I ended up converting my Nano to XMR. What do you think how the midterms are going? What do you think how the midterms are going to sway in November? In any way I look at it, I can only see it going red. I mean, yeah, even if you look at the prediction markets right now, all of them heavily favor the Republicans. I mean, like, it's something like 80% chance of them winning the House, like 70-something% chance of them winning the Senate. Like, it's pretty extreme. So I fully expect, you know, I've had this conversation with people. The presidency is almost like more of a liability at this point for whatever party controls it, okay? So I think everyone in America knows that the presidency is kind of a rhetorical position. It's kind of a vestigial, symbolic position of the ruler of the country, and you have very little say over what's going on, right? You can sign bills, you can veto bills, that's still very powerful. And I think the biggest one is actually being able to appoint Supreme Court justices. But I think the idea that the presidency changes the nation is, I don't know, very questionable. And in fact, I think it's 100% the case that Joe Brandon being president is really, really bad for the like if Donald Trump was president right now, it would be much better for the Democrats. That would mean multiple things. Firstly, this midterm they would win, because pretty much every time whenever you have a midterm, the incumbent president loses. That's nearly like a universal in American politics. It's just because the other people are motivated. They hate how things are going. They get out and vote, right? The people who are in control, they're apathetic. They don't. All right. So if Trump were president, first that would be going against him, and then you'd have all this other stuff. You'd have Afghanistan. You'd have this Russia crap. You'd have this. You'd have like gas prices and inflation, which frankly Joe Brandon didn't cause. Like, it's fun to blame him for it. And maybe he exacerbated things. But the whole lockdown, which Trump initiated, that's the problem, right? That's the proximal problem. You can say that he made things worse. But really, whoever got elected in 2020 was sitting on a time bomb, right? And that's often the case, because when you're president, you don't have much control. And then when bad things happen, which they will happen, you get blamed for them. And your party loses. Your party loses in the midterm. And you look like a doofus. Right? So, I've been telling people, hey, if there's no decent Republican candidate this next time, a lot of people say Ron DeSantis is going to run, and he would be a good president, but I don't want him to be president. I don't want that right now. It might be better for, for another 4 years of the Brandon administration. That's just what I'm saying. It might be tactically a better decision. And this is actually what I said in 2012. Like in 2012, I was more like a libertarian back then. I was like a libertarian who was like, more. If anything, I leaned Democratic, because I was super blue-pilled back then. It was ridiculous. But in 2012, I was like, okay, I'm not quite sure what I feel about Obama. If I like him, I should vote for him. But if I don't like him, I feel like he's going to make things so insane that it's clearly going to cause some kind of reaction. So I think I'll vote for him either way. So that's what I did. And I was hoping that in 2016, there would be some really comical reaction. And there was. Wow, that paid off. Either way, that's how it is. Anonymous sends in some Monero. Hey, I'm a Europe guy in my early 20s. I spent the last year working on and off wagey jobs, and I hated it. I'm now jobless and don't know what to do. I'm good at IT, but I'm in a city where there are no IT jobs, and I don't have any money to move. Advice? Let me take a drink of water, actually. I feel like I need some water. Well, the thing with IT jobs, obviously, is you can do them online, especially nowadays. I mean, I'm not quite sure how the job market is in Europe in terms of how you look for a job or how you find it, but, a lot of the times, I mean, especially nowadays, at least in America, right? Like lots of people I know have gotten jobs like working remotely. So I don't want to be like, oh, well, why don't you just put your feet on the pavement and go find a job? But, that there might be something to say that you could probably find an IT job doing that. I mean, the wagey jobs, it depends on what your wagey job is. If it teaches you a useful skill, it's always good to have. I mean, you guys know that in my middle 20s, I was working for like $10 an hour when I was doing that carpentry stuff, which was really more so I could learn how to do it. But technically, I was only getting paid $10 an hour. I only worked there for a couple months. But there's no shame in like having a low-paying job or some kind of wagey job. The thing is, you just want something that is going to teach you a skill. I think the big problem for a lot of people, I keep hiccuping or burping or something. The main problem for a lot of people is they think having a job is like having food service, like working in food service or having some kind of I don't know, like kind of non-productive, kind of BS job. I don't want to say food services is a BS job, but like you're doing something that's pretty replicable. You're not really getting anything out of it. So if you're burnt off working on jobs, a lot of the times it's because you're working stuff like that. You're not doing things that you can learn in. And the other advantage of wagey jobs, again, I said that I worked as a carpenter when I was like 25 or so. I don't know how it was around 25, and barely made any money. But the nice thing about wagey jobs is you can pretty much like join and quit them when you want, right? Now, I know things are more complicated in Europe. There are all these legal things like unemployment crap. And so a lot of times it's harder for people to take employees on because they might have to give them severance package. I'm not quite sure how it works in different European countries. But, I would just say be very open and be serious about looking for things online. But if you do have to settle for a wagey job, make sure to get a wagey job that involves like real work with your hands or something. Don't get an office job. You're not going to enjoy it. You might think it's like the easy way out, but it's not going to be enjoyable if you're in your early 20s, right? Because right now, I mean, maybe it's if you don't really know your directionality in life, right? You don't have a plan. I don't think there's any harm in you choosing a job based off not how much money you're going to get, but what it's going to enable you to do in terms of, is it going to make you a more competent person? That's my reaction. Hi, so GL sends in some XMR. Hi, Luke, thank you for your work. Until recently, I was a Reddit atheist. Now I want to get involved with Christianity. Any recommendations to get started? Well, you should go to your local church, obviously. I think physically plugging into people is number one. Like, if you're asking for readings, I don't think that's the best way, even for, like, intellectually edged people. I think you just have to be involved. Even if, this applies. I remember getting an email from a girl, and she was like, Luke, I see you tell people to go to church, right? Even if they, like, don't even believe in God, right? I don't know where I said that, but I don't disagree with that. Like, I think that even people who are kind of curious, they should go, right? They need to go. They need to experience, like, they need to see if they're going to feel the call, right? That's an experience they need, even if it makes no sense to them, right? You might get it later on once you're involved, but that's step number one. Like, it is, like, Christianity is not something you just spontaneously decide. It's something you participate in, right? So you can't do this thing of, I'm going to be my own church, I'm going to do it my own way. That's like hyper Protestantism, and I'm not even saying don't go to a Protestant church, because if that is, most comfortable for you, as long as you're not like some kind of hyper liberal Protestant or whatever. But as you want to do things that are comfortable for you at the beginning, but I think the most important thing is getting your foot in the door and making yourself open, right? So just make sure you're going to church and you're being responsible for things there and being involved with people, right? Including people who are not your age. This is an aside. This isn't even just about going to church. This is actually here's some life advice, okay? This is some actual life advice. Okay, one thing I think a lot of people nowadays, because we've grown up in grade school, so we are always around people who are like 1 year apart from us in age. That's actually really screwed up, because you get used to only talking to people your age. So what happens a lot of times, when people go to church, oh, they're a bunch of boomers. Oh, there's like no one my age. Oh, there's only one girl and she's not even attractive. Okay, that's the kind of stuff that people say, as if like you're going to a church to meet an attractive girl or something like that. That's the kind of stuff that people say. And I will say, when I was back in Statesboro, okay, I went to church there, and the church, I guess there were some guys like within 10 years of my age, right? But they weren't exactly there were guys who were like younger, more like college kids who were like a good bit younger. I was like a higher age PhD student. And then there were guys a little older than me who had kids, right? So there was no one exactly my age. But what that actually gets you is you actually talk to people who are not your age, which is always a valuable thing, okay? That is one thing that people nowadays are lacking. Because, again, we grow up in grade school where your social group is people within 1 year of you. You don't know, a lot of the times, someone 10 years older than you who's gone through, like the question the last guy asked me about getting a job or whatever, like, that's the kind of thing that a directionless millennial or Zoomer asks because they've only been around people their age. So, if you're in church, if you go to a church, that seems like the right place, be sure to meet people who are not your age. And you're probably going to meet that a lot of the time. Now, I go to a church now where there are actually a lot of people my age, okay? That's not a problem. It actually wasn't the case when I started going to that church. I don't know what it was, but you should not tether yourself to being around people of your exact age. I don't know how I got on this tangent talking about this question, but Anonymous sends an XMR. Thoughts on the Steam Deck? It's a handheld PC console. Yeah, I know what it is, and I'm not interested. Yeah, I mean, unless it's like the Steam, it's proprietary DRM software that is deliberately there to limit your use of games, right? It's DRM crap. Okay, so I'm not interested in it. I don't care. Like this, I recorded a video about this. Oh, I should have said something like this. I recorded a video about this that's going to come up tomorrow. Not exactly about this, but about the fact that a lot of people in Linux or open source or security or hard, like any of this kind of stuff, they like the technology. They come to, let's say you like free and open source technology. And, oh man, Linux is doing all this great stuff. It gives you all this privacy and security and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of times people forget what their actual end goal is, right? The purpose of using Linux is not just using some new brand that I can identify with. That's stupid. This is a free and open source platform where I can do things on it, right? It's a more extensible environment. You can get more stuff out of it, right? There are all these benefits to using it. And so I'm not really interested in software coming to it that subvert those principles. Like Steam is software that should not exist, right? The games out there, they already exist. They can run on computers. Steam is software that is deliberately designed to sell proprietary software to people so that they can run without their control. Okay, that's it. Now, there are other companies that even do this good stuff legally. So there's, GOG, Good Old Games. So what they do is they sell you copies of games, and they actually sell you copies of games, not something that's downloaded in some silly program, okay? But they give you, here's the game. Now, it's still often a closed source game, but it's actually something on your computer that you don't need to be logged into, and you can copy and put on another computer, right? So GOG, are they making as much money as Steam? Probably, well, nearly certainly not. Because Steam, again, DRM people make a lot of money with DRM. They make a lot of money restricting proprietary licenses and stuff like that. But I'm just not interested in it. So, BJ says, could you write a guide on your website about moving to the country? Also, how would you define city and country? There are some cities with 1,000 people. Yeah, I mean, I feel like if it has 1,000 people, that's a pretty small place. I mean, like, I would say, how can we define it? If you have to take your trash to the dump yourself, you live in the country. We'll say something like that. If you have your own well, you live in the country, right? I don't know. There are a bunch of different differences. It depends on it. I don't know. I know I've done videos about how to move to the country. I thought about doing another one because I watched one of my old videos on moving to the country, and I might want to change some things. Like, the environment of things has changed. I might want to have a slightly different narrative on things. So I might do a video on that again. But yeah, maybe I'll write out a guide. GOG is based. GOG is beautiful. Yeah, it's a shame things couldn't go the way of GOG more. I disagree with Steam Deck bringing anything to Linux. Really, all it does is encourage proprietary and DRM software to move to Linux. It just makes Linux closer to Windows. Yeah, I mean, that's the point. Like, if you want to play games, use Windows. That's it. Use Windows if you want to play all these games. That's it. That's what it exists for. Like, Windows is quite literally an operating system that does nothing. There is no there is absolutely nothing Windows can do better than Linux except for play these games. That's it. That's the only thing. That is its specialty operating system. For anything else, use a real operating system. But if you want a game, use Linux or use Windows, right? That's the only thing it does. Okay? Land Chad, but for real life. Yeah, I should do that. Too bad landchad.net is already taken. Maybe I'll get landchad. I don't know. You can't be a failed anything at 19, weirdo. I don't know what that was in response to, but it is kind of funny. That is true. Like if you're 19 and you think your life is over, you're crazy. Have you heard of the YouTuber, the Distributist? His critiques on modernity seem right up your alley. I know, I'm aware of his existence. And I think someone told me that he watches my channel. I don't know if he's bigger than me or smaller than me now. I think he used to be smaller than me, but like everyone's channel is bigger than mine because I took like 6 months off. No, everyone's grown bigger. Like Mental Outlaw is bigger. Even freaking DistroTube has a bigger channel than mine. What a joke. Yeah, I know that he exists. I haven't seen his videos at all recently. I don't know if he got banned. I mean, a lot of people. I think him. I thought the same thing about what is his name, Keith Woods, until I looked up his videos and I saw, oh, he's just like been shadow banned. Like he's still on YouTube. Right? So yeah, I haven't really looked at his stuff that much. I'm not really into political commentary. I mean, there maybe there was a period in my life where I was, but I think I kind of have a. I believe that politics is a reflection of physiognomy, and you can't really convince someone to be a different physiognomy. You know what I mean? Unless you're telling them to work out, right? Maybe they'll get high tea and become based. But in general, I'm kind of I kind of believe in predestination when it comes to politics. So I've never really felt it useful to talk about it in front of people because, like, soy boy's gonna soy, you know? What about your neglected project-based cooking? Well, I haven't added anything in a while, but I mean, it's not like it's like degrading by virtue of me not adding stuff. But I think I talked about on the last stream, I'm actually going to go through and get rid of a lot of stuff and make it actually more based, like more targeted to specifically good diets and stuff. Mental Outlaw is just as based as you, Luke. Oh yeah, I'm sure. And we'll never be in the same room together for some reason. Love to see you and Keith Woods chat. Well, if we did, I have to admit, you know, this is such an American thing to say, but I really find his accent bemusing. I don't even know where exactly. I guess he's a northerner or something. I don't quite know. Or maybe he's Irish. I don't know. It all sounds the same to an American, right? But it just sounds like he's always eating something. Like he's talking with something in his mouth. I don't know where he's from exactly. But I mean, yeah, it's fine. The thing with that, this goes for everyone. Like my channel has never been branded with something. So it's not a political channel. It's not like a cryptocurrency channel. It's not even like a technology channel. So it's always weird if I do like a thing together with someone, because it's like, hey, here's Luke. He's like this dude. Actually, when I did that interview with Kevin Wad, which again should come up next week or something on his channel. But he was like, how should I introduce you? And I was like, dude, I don't freaking know, man. I don't know. What are your thoughts on sugar? Don't eat it. If you want to know what my thoughts on sugar are, actually, there's that documentary. What is it? Sugar, or not documentary, it's like a lecture. And it went big on YouTube. Sugar, the Bitter Truth. Just watch that. That's classic. Even normies know about that now because it went so big. Just watch that. Don't eat sugar. I deliberately get things which have no sugar in it. No sugar added, none of that stuff. The less sugar you eat, the better it is. Okay, let's see. Did I get that one already? Okay, BJ again donates $5. Which branches of economics would you say you have the best foundations in? I saw you wrote a paper on game theory, and I remember you trashing finance once. Well, finance is not really economics. I mean, I don't consider it economics. It's like a different field. When I was doing my undergraduate degree, like finance is like the business school kind of stuff. I mean, I guess economics is in business school, but I think of economics as being more theoretical. Like it can be something like game theory, where you're analyzing behavior, but it's something either more theoretical or maybe sometimes more political. But finance is is more applied stuff, and it's more of an alchemy. Right? I mean, that's why George Soros wrote that book, The Alchemy of Finance, right? Because there are not real principles going into finance, especially stock market crap. It's mostly just people throwing, paint at a wall, basically. So finance is not economics. I was very interested in game theory. Technically, I have where are all my degrees? They're over there. I'm not going to get them. I have a couple specializations I did when I was in undergrad. One, I got one in international trade and one in economic history. I guess I was very interested in economic history. I basically think mainstream economics is kind of stupid, obviously. I think everyone does. So a lot of the stuff, the particular theological stuff, theoretical stuff, I dismiss. Oh, the solo growth model. Yeah, that's a bunch of crap. But I am interested in the history of economic thought for the reason that it actually exposes you to more things than just mainstream economics, mainstream, neo-Keynesian crap. Okay. So I guess you could say I'm interested in economic thought generally. And yeah, I was particularly interested in game theory. I don't know what paper. Maybe you saw the linguistics paper I did on game theory. I'm trying to think what economics papers on game theory I published on the internet. If you look really hard, you can find some economics things that I've written way back in the day, but I basically disown all of that because I was too much of a Keynesian. It was actually right after I graduated that, I mean, as I said, back in 2012, I was I was sort of a libertarian, but I was also really I was frankly like a Democrat libertarian, if that can make any sense. I don't know. I was a New York Times snob kind of guy. I was basically what would now be like a bug eater, like someone who wants people to live in pods and stuff like that. And I read the New York Times unironically. I was basically as blue-pilled as you could possibly be. And but after I graduated, I actually started looking into things more, having a more consistent view on things. And that led me to more like principled libertarianism for a period, but a couple years later it's like, yeah, well, libertarianism is one thing, but I think it's kind of silly, and I moved away from that. Moved away from ideological autism, I guess. But so if you wanted me to say something specific about economics, I don't have anything. But Muslim sent in some XMR. Do you run out of dating prospects living in the country? Again, dating. Dating's not a thing. Marriage prospects. Think about that. Don't talk about dating. None of this. I want a long-term girlfriend crap. Do you run out of dating prospects living in the country? If you run out of options, will you move elsewhere? Well, I'm not going to divulge. Yeah, you can tell it's getting late because I'm getting words like that mixed up. I'm not going to divulge any of my personal life, but I will say in the abstract, are there bad dating prospects in the country? I would say no. Like, not really at all. One is you're exposed to a different caliber of girl. Well, okay, there are some trashy girls out here, but I would say in general, there's more signal and less noise in terms of girls. And the more you get involved, the more you will realize girls are all over the place. Okay, you might not go in public. They might not be at the coffee shops. Okay, they don't do that in the countries. You might not be able to just go to a restaurant and meet a girl, or chat up a girl in the library or something like that. But they're out there, okay? And if you're involved in a local community, you absolutely will be running across girls all the time. The only I guess worrisome thing for some guys might be the fact that a lot of girls get married really early. So if you're like 40. You're either going to marry a 20-year-old, which theoretically, I don't know if you're 40 and, you know her family, that might be not too weird. But, so girls get married really early, so you should know that you're going to be dealing with younger girls. So if you're older, you might want to worry about that. But if you're in your 20s or early 30s, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. But yeah, people freak out about that. I mean, it's weird, especially because people will be like, oh, I can't find a girl, and it's going to be even harder if I move to the country. It's like, dude, if it's hard for you now, just go ahead and make the plunge, better your life, and deal with it. Cross that bridge when you get there. That's what I would say to people. You know, I don't know. People think too, like, I think a lot of times, this isn't just about girls, this is about anything. People will make excuses for being too afraid to take the plunge that they know they know that they need to make, right? Joseph, since in $10, time to get Pete pilled on sugar. The key negatives related to sugar are excess starch, glucose, and polyunsaturated fatty acids. Sucrose is generally just fine and not fattening. Check out Ray Pete article here. Okay, I'll look that up. You know, prima facie. How do people pronounce it? Prima facie, prima facie, if you're medieval. But, you know, right from first glance, I mean, that seems like a plausible thing. Yeah, polyunsaturated fatty acids, they're bad. Starch, glucose, maybe that is the thing. Maybe sucrose is forgivable, but I don't know. I don't know the particulars. I'll put that in my notes to take a look at. Notes. Luke, what's your note-taking software? Well, I use standard output to put in a file called notes in my home directory. That's my note-taking software. Okay, Sean says, hi, Luke. Do or did you study advanced mathematics at all, such as group theory, analysis, number theory, etc.? I know a very small amount of number theory, but I never formally studied mathematics, and it's one of my biggest regrets, actually. Those of you, I've said this when it comes to college. My general recommendation for people is like to not go to college, especially if you're paying for it. But if you have nothing to do and you're there and you're studying something, math is basically one of the best degrees you can get. Some programs, like depending on the university, if it's a really good university, philosophy also might be good. But a lot of times philosophy is super crap at some universities. But math is a fantastic thing to major in. And when I did my degree in economics, my first regret was, oh shoot, all the graduate programs say they'll accept economics grads, but they really want math grads. And like math is fantastic. I mean, it's similar to computer science in that it will expand your knowledge of like specific formal things, and you know, doing proofs is just beautiful. I had a girlfriend who was a math major at some point, and I just loved to do her proof homework. It was just so great. It was just awesome. Like I wish I was like begging her, hey, can I look at your problem sets? Anyway, so I will tell other people. No, I don't have a really deep experience with advanced mathematics, and I really regret that. If I had, if I get the chance, I might look into it if I find a good resource. But I do recommend younger people, mathematics, don't dismiss it. It is something that it can be so useful for so many other things. I think it's, you know, how I say that crap about Latin. Like, Latin seemed very useless when I learned it, but it's been, like, so useful in everything. Mathematics is 100%, it's probably, like, that times 10, at least, if you get into, like, really deep mathematics. Just the superficial stuff I know. Like, I'm always finding generalizations that I can use in other things. BJ says, what do you think about the Weston A. Price Foundation? You link to one of their videos, The Oiling of America. Oh, that was that instance with along with Sugar the Bitter Truth. And that The Oiling of America is another good documentary to check out. I didn't know that was Weston A. Price. I'm less familiar. Everything I've heard from them is good. All of it's pretty based in red pill, but I'm not exactly sure what their whole spiel is. So I'm not going to give a full-throated endorsement. But in general, when it comes to diet, I would say they're a pretty good on the right, direction. Europe guy again. I plan to work in IT. I did an internship recently in IT, and I was told I had the knowledge to be hired, but they weren't hiring. The problem with remote job is that most companies don't do that here. P.S. 250 characters max is hard. Okay, sorry about that. I didn't know that was a Max and the software. I might change that. Eric, if you're watching that, get on it. I should probably change it myself. I should know enough Go. Yeah, this is the only program in Go that I've ever had to manage, and it's actually a very elegant language, but and it's fast too. It's not like one of those soy languages. Go, even though it's Google's language, it's a really good language. So yeah, I don't know. So it depends. I hope that the company said that, oh, well, you have the knowledge, but we're not hiring now. I hope that they have your resume still. Like, that's one of those, we'll contact you when we have an opening. I hope they weren't just being nice. But I don't know. One thing that I would, I don't know if you're one of those guys who kind of feels, I don't know if your balls shrink up when you feel like you're going to be rejected, but I would encourage you to overcome that, and I would just throw applications out to everything you could possibly get, just anything. So yeah, I don't know if they don't do remote jobs. I don't know what to say. I also don't know what kind of IT stuff you do. You might want to shoot. I mean, there are always ways of making money online. What I really should do, because I get so many freaking questions like this, where it's like people asking very specific life things about IT and how to make money and how to get a job and how this kind of stuff, where, I'm not fully qualified to answer all of these questions. But what I do feel like there needs to be is some kind of cursus honorum for people who know about tech and IT, but want to make money online or want to kind of freelance things or host services for people. I should probably do, maybe that's something that LandChad could do. Like on landchad.net, like maybe I can make tutorials about, here's how you could host some kind of virtual services for companies, and you could rent them out and stuff like that. I don't know that much about that because I don't know a lot about virtualization and containerization, because I usually hate the stuff because people will use it for individual uses, which I don't like. But I think learning something like that would probably be really valuable. It'd be really nice if there were a site that aggregated all that so that someone could come on who has tech knowledge and could set up a VPS for someone else and just have them pay royalties for you setting up some VPS for free for them. But yeah, that's actually a good idea now that I think about that. I think we should maybe I should do something like that. Like actionable things, like here, you could go to a business and set up a website using these technologies and have them pay you some amount of money every month for hosting this. Yeah, like that would be, I don't know. Now I'm just thinking, as your specific case, Europe guy, man, I don't, there is a point where I have to say, you got to make your own decisions. Like, I don't know the particulars of where you can get a job. I just don't know. You're in a different country, and this applies to a lot of other people who ask me about job stuff. Like, I can't tell you all this, I should be more dismissive. Like, I always want to be caring when I get comments like that, but there is a sense in which I got to be a little dismissive because I don't know. Like, you got to make these decisions. And let me put it this way. I was in the same position when I was younger, okay? But I've been lucky with jobs. I've been lucky with the internet that, I can be here and get XMR donations, right? I think that's cool. But a lot of it, when you're younger, I didn't think that I would be able to leverage any of this kind of stuff. So if you're directionless, just think about honing your skills and learning things that will expand the circumference of things that you can do. So, surprised you like Go because it compiles to giga binaries. Oh, does it? I'll have to check that out. I mean, it's not the size of the binaries that's the problem. I'm as long as it's not crap like, you have what is it, app images or whatever. I think that's ridiculous. I mean, app images can still be fine. They're better than snaps and flatpaks, which no one should ever use snaps or flatpaks. But the size of a program itself doesn't bother me. What does bother me is when you have app images where they're duplicating content that exists elsewhere on the system. I don't know if Go is doing that. But as far as I'm concerned, Go is, it's fast. And it's easy to read code. I don't know Go, but I can still look at it and be like, oh, okay, I know what this is doing. It's pretty intuitive. He doesn't answer the YouTube chat question. Yeah, sorry if I missed YouTube. I mostly focus on, donations on my own platform, which are over there. If I missed the super chat, I'm sorry. Hey, I was thinking about doing that with a small business and hosting their stuff on Amazon buckets for pennies. Yeah, well, I'm kind of anti-Amazon. I wouldn't use that, but, yeah, in concept, sure. Sure, that stuff is probably, like, one thing I've realized about the internet is that it's actually easier to make money than you think, right? Even, like, Lindy Press. Like, so that's my new way of making money, and it's worked pretty great. But I just regret not doing that years ago because I had the idea of doing it, and I kind of put it off, and I was like, oh, I can do that later. Nah, man, you can make things happen. And, I am thankful. I did have a guy help me out writing the code for it. He actually wrote it in Python, which, I'm still, I'm not a big fan of Python, but I'll deal with it. But, I just regret not doing that before, because the law tech work I was doing basically for myself anyway. It's easier to monetize things on the internet than people think. And I am glad to have a YouTube channel because I kind of get free advertising. I can say, hey man, go buy this, but, Go literally statically compiles your dependencies and contains the full runtime and garbage collect. Oh, wow. Well, there are reasons to have static binaries and stuff. Actually, technically, that's the most suckless thing to do, right? I want to say, didn't they have like some OS that was like perfectly static binaries and stuff? But I want to say when I did my video on snap packs and flat images, whatever the hell they are. I want to say Kai Hendry did a video talking about that. But what he said is like the real problem is actually dynamic linking and all that kind of stuff, which is kind of true. Like in there is a sense in which like the Go way of doing things and like the static binary way is kind of better to do certain things. What software did you use for XMR donations? So go to my GitHub and look up Shadow Chat. It was not written by me. It was written by someone who I think wants to remain anonymous. I mean, I referred to his handle in the last stream. It's Eric, but he's a Monero guy. I don't actually know who he is, but it's really good stuff. You can just run it on a VPS, and it just checks. You just give it a view key for a wallet, and it will check whenever you get a donation, and it will give you. It sends me emails with like what people comment and stuff. I need to freaking mark these as red so I don't keep. Okay. Tyler says, do you believe in the techno-anarchist philosophy? So obviously, we talk memes about techno-anarchism, but I will say I'm not like totally anti-technology. My view is that technology has to be adopted at an extremely slow and extremely conscientious rate. It has to be something you are constantly thinking about the social ramifications of, right? So I'm not one of these singularity people who just thinks tech is gonna, like, it's a good thing if tech takes over human life and, like, we replace the human body with technology and transhumanism. I mean, transhumanism is just anti-humanism. It's like we're creating a world that we're psychologically not adjusted for or physically not adjusted for. And, I think that human society has to be based around the needs of humans, right? That shouldn't be like an insane thing to do. So I feel like a lot of technology is submitting humans to a technological future or ideological principles. Oh, you have to be subjugated to this idea of freedom or this idea of equality or this idea of this, that, or the other. It's using an ideology, a technological ideology, to control people, as opposed to, controlling your technology with the constraints of humanity, right? So, and now, in most cases, I think that people should not use technologies for... I recorded a video, I mentioned this earlier in the stream, where I kind of talk about this, where people who care about privacy and open source and free software and stuff like that, they get so fixated on the technology, ignoring the fact that a lot of times you shouldn't even be using digital technology for a lot of things, That video will come out tomorrow morning in a couple hours. So, my view is real life is the real life, and you shouldn't use technology in lieu of your real life. However, when you do use technology, use it wisely, and you should use, the best free and open source encrypted stuff for everything. And we can slowly build a technologically advanced society that could explore the galaxy or whatever, but it has to be done it has to be watertight. It has to be something that humans that is built for humans. And if we can't build it in a way where humans can survive and thrive psychologically and physically, then it's not worth building. You're just destroying mankind based off of some delusion of techno-futurism. Okay? Technology and ideology becomes this cancer that is going to destroy the human race and subjugate it. Okay? That's lame. So, I'm not a techno-anarchist, but I do, what I'm saying now should not be considered techno-anarchism. It should just be considered being a sensible person, right? Okay, I see a super chat. I'm catching this one. What's your opinion on modern China? It'd be much more based if there were still emperors. But modern, a lot of people, will be like, oh, America sucks, and it does suck, and all Western governments are, insane and satanic and all that kind of crap. But I'm not one of those people who automatically elevates China or Russia. Now, I do think China and Russia, especially nowadays, are playing geopolitically. I hope that they play more of a countervailing role to America. However, that is not to state my endorsement of anything particular about China. China is ultimately just a different culture. They value different things than I value, right? As an American, as a white person, as a person who comes from, Western culture, I have different values than they have. What I perceive as, the appropriate level of freedom is different from what your average Chinese person has. And there are many cultural differences that you can have between different cultures. So, when I went to China, I actually really liked it. I actually really liked living there, experiencing it, mainly because you're free from all this stupid crap you have to deal with in America. Like the Cultural Revolution in America. Do I like China, as a culture? Would I like to live there? Am I Chinese? No, I'm not Chinese. Okay, but there are many things that, I could admire about it. And, I don't know if I even know Chinese well enough to watch TV. I definitely can't read very well anymore. My Chinese reading abilities have decreased significantly. But, so I'm less plugged into it than I was, 10 years ago. But if you're asking something specifically political about the modern Chinese government, I don't know. I do think it's stupid that Taiwan is an independent country. I think it should. I really feel like China should just assimilate it, and it'll probably eventually happen. They should have just done it when Russia invaded Ukraine, because it's what's the American government gonna freak out about? They're not gonna go to war everywhere. They ended up not going to war over Ukraine. I hope they don't. Oh my goodness, that would be so stupid. That would be the dumbest thing in the universe. But Luke, I'm a physics student, so I really like math, physics, and philosophy, but philosophy is cringe in college, and I'm planning on taking a bunch of math and physics. Is theoretical physics cringe? Well, depends on what theoretical physics is. I'm always the advocate of views that are not expounded within the university system, because I do think that there is a self-confirming, incestuous, just naturally, this is just naturally how it is. A lot of academia naturally kind of blots out certain viewpoints, not because they're necessarily bad, but just because they're off of the radar, they're not comprehensible with the typical frameworks. So it depends on what theoretical physics there means. Is it, do you mean something specific in academia now, or do you mean something as opposed to it, right? I will say on theoretical grounds, I think this goes for any kind of, what's the word I'm looking for that I just used? I know I just used this. Starts with an F. Framework. Any theoretical framework, right, is always going to have, its problems are always going to be at its foundational level. Like, that's always how it is. Like, you create some new theoretical framework that's based on these assumptions, and 60 years go by, many careers have been made, much blood has been spilt on it, and then someone realizes, oh, the foundations that went into it, oh, they were actually faulty. And all these years we've been wasting our time. That's how it works. Like, that's how it's been for hundreds of years. Okay? That's how Einsteinian physics, in a couple of years are going to be like, oops, we misunderstood relativity wrong in this respect. And the whole system is screwed up. And our entire interpretation is messed up. I have an essay on my website kind of about this. It's like physics is fragile. But, so I don't know. It's your call. I don't actually know what theoretical physics in a university right now looks like. It's probably different from department to department, but I have never really been directly involved in a physics department, so I can't tell you. So you might know more than me. Nah, Taiwan needs to annex China. Yeah. No, well, Taiwan is definitely cringer. I don't support communism, but the Chinese government is clearly, it's no longer communist. In fact, Taiwan is frankly more culturally communist than China is now. Luke, have you heard of the Nick Bostrom postulates? What do you think about them? I've never heard of them. I'm gonna put them in my notes file, and I will look at those later. Glad I saw that. Okay. DC Pagan says, what file systems and storage frameworks do you use? I am reading the free BSD handbook and studying ZFS, GEOM, a bunch of other acronyms. And I am intimidated at joining the dark side. What are your thoughts on Michael Warren Lucas? I don't know who Michael Warren Lucas is. I don't know if he is a BSD guy. On file systems, I will just say I am a boomer and I just use ext4 because I don't know, that's like the default. So I've never really looked that much into it, and I definitely should, but I don't know, a bunch of other people are using that, and I'm just going to deal with it for now. Like, it's never given me that big of a problem. If I see some reason to switch over, I might, but... Luke, any plans to bring back the forums or some other form of it? Unlikely. But I have brought up the idea of using either Movim or something like that to put my blog in, which allows more like user interaction. And I have thought about doing a forum for Not Related, but I'm not quite sure. Mark says, loved your recommendation of Michelle Thomas's courses. Any other resource you find useful for acquiring German for Anglophones, native Catalan speaker? I would not say, like, I can kind of read German, but I would not say I speak it sufficiently for me to say, oh, use this to learn German. I've never really been motivated to learn German, so... Okay, I'll check, let me check my emails. A Jew sends in some XMR. That's his name, a Jew. Whatever happened to getting rid of your YouTube by the end of 2021? Yeah, I did say that. I'm postponing it. I functionally did, like, stop doing videos. Realistically speaking, my YouTube channel stopped in 2018 when I moved out here. That's when it actually stopped. Because before then, you might remember, those of you who have been on my channel for a long time, I would post videos every day. Right now, it's like, oh, I'll put up a video when I feel like it. And I will say, I did not say I was going to get rid of my YouTube channel by the end of 2021. What I did say is that, oh, I'll just like set it and forget it, and I'll do my PeerTube as a primary platform. And I should force that a little more, because I haven't really told people to like, comment, and subscribe over there. But if you guys don't know, I should do more videos on. There are bugs in my house. I don't know how. Did I leave a door open when I got my rock? Hold on, let me check this. No, I didn't leave a door open. If you guys don't know, go to video, or is it video or videos? I always forget. Videos.lukesmith.xyz. All my videos are there off YouTube. I want to use that as a primary platform, and I have done live streaming there. Now, the reason I'm still using YouTube is, I should have said this at the beginning. One thing my next step is I want to have an email list, like a mailing list. And the reason I want that is I want it to replace YouTube notifications. I want to be able to give people notifications when I put up a video on PeerTube, including live streams. Live streams are time sensitive. The reason I'm still streaming on YouTube is because I just started this up on YouTube. Everyone gets a notification, and people are in the chat room within like 5 minutes. Okay. That doesn't happen on PeerTube. I've done streams on PeerTube. It doesn't notify people actually till I publish the video. So I have to put out an RSS feed thing or whatever. It doesn't work as well. So I need kind of an email mailing list that would help a lot. That's really the one technological thing. Other than that, I just need to recommend it more. And I've just I always feel bad about shilling things like, oh, go subscribe on this other site. But I really should just get used to it and do it, because shilling that is much better than continuing to use YouTube. But yeah, I never said I was getting rid of the YouTube channel. I was just saying I'm phasing it out, and I'm still phasing it out. But I phased it out by not doing videos on it for a while. But I guess. And, I shouldn't even say I should totally get rid of it, because I really just want to move people over to other platforms. Because, hey, I was glad when I did that Not Related episode, and I actually saw I got lots of new people watching. And so I can still leverage YouTube for good, I hope. I might be coping. Tell me if I'm coping. No, don't say that. You're just going to put cope everywhere. But, I think that I can still use YouTube for good, because frankly, all of you guys, you know me from YouTube, okay? Every once in a while, I will find someone who found out of me from somewhere else, but most people know me from YouTube, and I gotta do something about that, It's a massive chair. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're probably looking at this chair like, oh my goodness, like Luke is like severe manlet. It actually, in real life, it doesn't even look this small. I think it's like the angle because the camera is. Because if I go over here, see, now I look freaking huge, right? Now over here, I look like a manlet, okay? It's literally just the camera. It's like a fisheye. Yeah, now I'm like freaking, I'm massive, dude. I'm freaking like, I'm a Hulk of a man. I should be doing my stream over here. See, I'm mogging myself, right? Look at this. Oh, the virgin left side of the chair, Chad right side. Yeah, I'm freaking huge over here. I'm coping. Yeah, I'm coping. I'm coping about the PeerTube thing. It's a discussion about quantum stuff. I take exception to nonsense. Quantum math is very hard to understand in a physical sense, but experimental evidence shows it to be a good theory. String theory is probably cringe, though. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what I think about, what he said. I'm not paying attention to this discussion going on in the chat, but I will say I was often very surprised that quantum mechanics does... there's actually a classic YouTube lecture on quantum mechanics. I forget what it's entitled, but it's given at Google back before Google was big. But it's a guy talking about the fact that even simply with light filters that make light polar, you can more or less prove or experimentally show quantum phenomenon. And that kind of blew my mind, because a lot of times when you first look at quantum phenomenon, you automatically assume that it's all fake and gay, right? Oh, this is like some kind of statistical fluke, or people are looking at their experiments wrong. But so yeah, quantum phenomenon. But I will say I do kind of take the Einsteinian approach, or the Einsteinian view that we're gonna find some way of there's some underlying principles behind them. The 5'11" left side of the chair versus the 6 foot right side. Brutal Mog, yeah. Yeah, I need to sit on this side, yeah. I'm mogging the left side, Luke. He's cringe. What's your thoughts on simplified versus traditional Chinese? I do feel like simplified Chinese is not... I mean, it's not really that easier than... I mean, I guess it's fewer strokes, but I kind of feel like it's a waste. Like, it's like, why even have a different system that... I mean, it does simplify some things, right? It makes it easier to write. I guess it makes some things easier to perceive. But if you were really serious about reforming Chinese orthography, you would just write it in freaking pinyin, you know? And there are some documents saying that Mao actually wanted to do that. And now, I do admire the traditionalism of Chinese writing. And I think it should still be taught to Chinese children. However, realistically speaking, it would have been a good thing if they moved over to, like, pinyin. Like, that is the standard way of writing documents. And now, that sounds crazy. Okay? It sounds nuts. And there is a big difference in Chinese. Now, for Amerimuts like me, right? The difference between our written and spoken speech is not that much. It's bigger in Chinese. So there's a sense in which, oh, well, maybe you could use pinyin for spoken language and Chinese characters are more, written language and something like that. But either way, I just kind of feel that it would have definitely made things easier. But, of course, Chinese children, hey, they learn characters fine. They're not brainlets like American students who are just freaking lazy and don't want to learn anything. Chinese children, they learn the 6,000 characters they need to be able to read a newspaper and many, many more characters. So, Zakir, I think that's how his name is pronounced. Do you believe the whole Bible is true? If so, what do you say about creation in Genesis 1? Also, do you believe in miracles in the present day? Miracles in the present day, I don't... listen. Even if you believe in like a materialistic world, okay, where like you have to concede that there are some phenomena that are beyond normalcy, right? And so, of course, even if I were an atheist, quote unquote, I would more or less have to say that there are some things that are functionally miracle. Well, okay, maybe I'm talking as if you're speaking in Latin, because in Latin the word for miracles, it just means something. Oh, that's amazing. It doesn't necessarily mean something supernatural. Let me step back and answer that in English, right? Sure, miracles can happen in... I mean, I don't magically believe everything that is claimed to be a miracle. In fact, I probably assume that 99% of them are nonsensical. In fact, even if something... Like, there have been things, even in the past year, to me, that have happened to me that are kind of miraculous. But I don't even really think of them in those terms. But, the Christian view of miracles, right, is not that miracles are... They can be something where God reaches into the world and changes something. But they can also be synchronicities, coincidences that happen for merely physical reasons, right? Totally scientific reasons, right? And it's just a coincidence, but it's a coincidence with divine providence, right? It's like if... I don't know. It's like if your kid... your kid is going to find... I don't know, I'm trying to give an example. Like, it's like something that was going to happen anyway, but you have consented to it happen, or you kind of made it happen. Or, I don't know, it's providence. It's providence. That's the word for it. Whatever. Maybe you're not familiar with that term. So, as it comes to the Bible, true and literal are two different things. So, there are many things in the Bible that no one thinks is literal, right? So, Revelation is clearly metaphorical. A lot of prophecies, a lot of the funny thing, the visions, they're not literal. And as it comes to Genesis 1, it's one thing to say, do I believe God created the heavens and the earth? Yes. Do I believe that Genesis 1 and 2 are supposed to be exact and accurate descriptions of what happened? Not necessarily. You could believe that. I don't bully young earth creationists anymore. I think there's a case to be made for it, actually. But if you're willing to look at it. However, in the history of Christian thought, if you look at people who were Christians looking at this issue, I mean, Augustine, for example, he didn't believe the first, couple chapters of Genesis were that the world was created like that. I think his take on it was God created the entire universe instantaneously, okay? And everything sort of has the form it has now, and it persists. Like, he didn't have this view of God created things on multiple days. So, that kind of clumsy literalism, that's something that a lot of American Protestants believe in because, again, once you've been severed from that tradition, of the Orthodox or Catholic Church, right, that goes back millennia of people talking about these issues, then the only option you have is to say, oh my goodness, well, the Bible says literally this, so I have to believe literally this. And in reality, there have been many times and places where that was, it wasn't necessarily the expectation that this is something that literally is happening. And when you look at textual analysis, when early Christians or Hebrews were looking at texts, a lot of times they looked at things, even things that might be flaws or misunderstandings, they looked at those as being providential, okay? So, I think the whole idea that, is literal young earth creationism and all that kind of stuff, I think it's something that you could believe, but I think it's something that is definitely not necessary. And it's not also, I know this is a big stumbling block for people because it's like the meme that materialism gets put on you, like, oh, dude, evolution goes against this and all this kind of stuff. I will just say, once I started believing, creation became a very little issue. It's not something that I think about, and it's a perfectly sensible thing to say that God created a world with continuity. Like, if he creates a deer, a scientist can look at it and say, oh, it's a 10-year-old deer, even though it's not 10 years old. It's just been created. Or, a rock or a stream or things like that. All of them, their existence implies a history. So to create these things, you implicitly create a history for them. You understand what I mean? So it's a sensible thing to say that God could create a world where there are fossils in the ground, right? So, people will say that as if it's like a knockdown argument or whatever. BJ donates $5. Old school web pins and buttons win. Yeah, I got lazy and I haven't made more of them. I should. I really should. So, a black person sent in some Monero. You seem to have some sympathy for the Third German Empire. Third German Empire. I guess he means the Third Reich. For example, last stream you referenced their polite and reasonable interest in the Danzig corridor. Will you ever explicate your full views on this topic? I think you could just read a history book if you want to know. I mean, the point I was making is when you look at any kind of propaganda system, and we were talking about the Russia-Ukraine thing, right? All that Americans know about the issue is that Russia invaded Ukraine. Why did they invade Ukraine? Was there some violence happening before? There was. Was there some issue? Were the Ukrainians doing bad things? Americans have no clue. Because what the propaganda system says is it blots all of that out and says, only look at this thing that makes the Russians look like the big bad villains. Now, does that mean I automatically think the Russians are not villains? I don't know. I don't know about the issue. It actually doesn't concern me at all. I don't care. And in fact, many times there are two people who are in the wrong, right? And so I said the same thing about, World War II. Americans were told the same things about, Hitler. Like, Hitler's just invading all these countries for no reason. No, I mean, he annexed Austria, which of course voted to be annexed. It was consensual, right? And, Germany and Austria were basically the same culture. And then the portions, and then also people say, oh man, he won part of Czechoslovakia in all these negotiations. Well, it wasn't like some foreign territory. It was a portion of it belonging to, where Germans lived, right? So does this mean that, oh my goodness, now you're saying Hitler didn't do nothing? No, but you can look at these issues and say, oh, clearly I've only seen one side of the story. And maybe I shouldn't get emotional about Ukraine because I don't freaking know anything about it. And I've been deliberately shown only one side of the story. Okay? So as it comes to Russia and Ukraine or Germany and Poland, I don't know enough about historically what's going on. In fact, I don't even think the history, in terms of something that happened 100 years ago, is necessarily a good representation of what's going on. I don't make that assumption, right? So I don't know. I'm not going to I I can't look at these things, especially issues where you know that most of it's going to be propaganda. I don't think it's proper for a person to pontificate about them. So what I'm pontificating is ambivalence and skepticism of people who are trying to build ideologies based on these narratives, you know. That doesn't mean, like, I'm not actually saying big brain centrism either. I'm just saying when you look at Russia and Ukraine, I know, even if Russia is in a sense an aggressor, I know that what I'm being fed is not the full story. That's what a sensible person should reach. So, not caring about Ukraine is extremely based. There are a bunch of similar wars that people don't care about. And before last month, no one even cared about Ukraine anyways. Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, this Ukraine stuff has been going on at least since 2014, and we haven't heard about it because Ukraine is America's ally, right? Or the Ukrainian government that they installed in 2014, right? That is doing bad things, is killing people, right? I saw someone post this meme also where it's like, it just lists out all these conflicts, you know, where like tens or 100,000 thousands of people have died since the 1980s, none of which you ever hear about, right? And then, you know, people are just like snoozing throughout the whole thing, and then Ukraine is at the bottom, and, you know, there's someone going nuts, right? And that's how it is. Like, there's one thing, I used to have this essay. You know, I almost published a book back in, like, 2014. That was, like, way before I had a YouTube channel. But, you know, I made this, you know, one reason you fundamentally can never trust a journalist is because what a journalist, or even, like, a historian at some level of abstraction, but, you know, what a journalist has is... You know, there's this old saying that Michelangelo, when he created David, the sculpture, or something like that. Someone asked him, "Oh, how did you make a sculpture that great?" And he said, "Oh, it's easy. You just cut away all the parts that don't look like David," right? So what the media does is they have basically a giant slab of marble. In the sense that going on in the world, there is so much that you can cut any narrative you want from it, anything you want. Like, if you want to create the narrative that, you know, the police in America are hunting down and killing black people, you can do that. If you want to create the narrative that black people are hunting down and killing white people, you can do that. Or white people are killing black people. It doesn't matter. Like, you can make these narratives because narratives are formed of anecdotes. Now, this is not me saying, like, oh, everything is true or nothing like that. But what I'm saying is, when you're talking about people who control information, they have the ability to take that slab and carve into it anything they want by omission. They omit all the things they don't really care about, and they throw what they want you to see in front of your face all the time. That's how they do it. The media can lie without lying, because what it can do is it can take the complex events of the world, and it can focus you in on some that will lead you to false assumptions, while ignoring everything else, while ignoring all the contradictory information. And that is what it does. That is exactly what it does. It gets you focused on these particular issues that are disproportionate. They have nothing to do with anything, okay? They just get you fixed on that, and you can't look at anything else. And you fall, this is how they get people, right? So now everyone has to have an opinion about this Ukraine thing that has nothing to do with them. It has not, like, I was talking to a relative who had lived in Ukraine for a period, okay? And she was like, listen, I was there, and I still don't freaking know what's going on. It's not my business. I have friends there, but I know this issue of Ukraine versus Russia, I don't know about, and that's correct. She was right to say that. So, and that's what people need to understand. Like, these things that are put on the news, they are not put on the news to inform you. They are put on the news to be the assumptions that lead you to the conclusions that they want. It's stupid for them to say, you're not allowed to believe this, you have to believe that. Because then people will know they're being brainwashed. But if they put a series of tactical events and other issues in front of your face, they can lead you to make your own decision to say what they want you to think anyway, right? That's how it works. Okay, I almost need to turn on the AC. It's actually getting warm here. It's probably 80 degrees in here. Let me check my emails. Actually, I might... Vietnamese person sent in some Monero. All these different races of people sending in stuff. I don't know why they name each other. I assume it's the same guy. Hey, Luke, what's your favorite boba tea? Your answer will determine how masculine or feminine you are. Honestly, every time I go there, I can't... They all sound like crap to me. I actually get taro a lot of the times. I guess that's pretty traditional. That's not very fair. I don't get freaking mango juice or something. I don't know. Or maybe they do have mango juice there. Maybe that's Lindy. But I usually have taro. Or sometimes I will actually get coffee. I will be clear. I do not endorse consuming product of boba tea. It's just if I'm doing it, that's what I'm doing. I guess I talked about this in a stream the other day. But yeah, is taro masculine or feminine as a boba tea flavor? I really think any boba tea is necessarily feminine. Like when there are some things like only women go there, right? Only women go to get boba tea. Yes, I went. I guess I'm transgender now. And the same thing. There used to be near the campus I worked at. There used to be this like juice place. You know, like they have like smoothies and stuff. And every once in a while, I drink. I drink and eat so little sugar. There will be occasionally when I'm like, oh, I need some fructose, you know? So I would go to the smoothie place, and I couldn't help thinking that I felt embarrassed to order anything, okay? Well, firstly, I'd be the only man there. Well, let's just say I wouldn't be the only one with XY chromosomes, but I would go there, and, all of the things were named these embarrassing womanly names. It'd be like, berry splooge on my face. I don't know, like just stupid, just weird things that I felt like weird, or like protein booster, like health, like something that presupposes it's like healthy for you, or the reason I'm getting this is not because I want to consume product, but because I care about my health or something. That is just, I don't know, silly. Brad says, please check my super chat. I can't, okay. I'll pull up the super chat. I'll try and pull up the super chat window. The thing with it, the reason I have all those donation things over there, aside from the fact that YouTube takes most of your money when you give a super chat, is it's so freaking hard to look at super chats you've missed. Viewer activity. Let's see. Yeah, it doesn't even show. If you click on them afterwards, it doesn't even show them. Oh my goodness, I've been going for 3 freaking hours. I need to stop this. All right, let me. Okay, so we'll keep going a little longer, but it is freaking hot in here. Oh, I have a fan. I should turn a fan on. Okay. That'll cool me down. I'm the only one in the house tonight, so I don't, I always feel like if you're the only person in the house, it's always a waste to use the AC. You should just use a fan. I mean, most people in America, they have fans and they don't even use them. So, what was the verdict on taro? Is that masculine or feminine? I really feel like none of them are masculine, but... What are your thoughts on the Palestine-Israel conflict, since there are many people being so emotional about Ukraine when there is a war for more than 70 years in Palestine? I mean, I do feel the same way. I don't like talking about things that I'm not directly related to, but I mean, it does seem a little bit more like, I feel a lot of sympathy for the Palestinians because it kind of got this hard, the whole thing was forced on them, right? I mean, the whole, like, Israel, let's move these people here. It was really forced on them, and I've heard a lot of bad things that the Israeli government does. Again, I don't automatically believe things, okay? But if I were to pick a side, I'd definitely pick the Palestinian side. But that's not to act. This is not even an endorsement, right? That's just like my what I've heard about it. It seems like Israel has done some pretty egregious things. So You can get canceled for questioning the Israeli-Palestine conflict. It is literally a religion over here. I don't know where you're talking from. I don't think that you can get canceled for that, frankly. Now, if you're a politician, you got to bend the knee to Israel all the time. But normal people, okay, of course, they're always like, oh my goodness, anti-Semitism. You question the Jews about anything. That's terrible. That's like a hate crime. Yeah, they do say that. However, there's always been that portion of the left that is anti-Israel. And for that reason, other people can also be kind of anti-Israel. They can say, like, Israel's doing bad things, right? So I don't think that's the case. I think that, like a lot of universities will still have kind of anti-Israel stuff going on. Like, I don't think it's like a fully canceled position. Now, questioning, you can't even say that on YouTube, so I'm not going to. There are other things you can't question that may or may not be relevant to Israel and Palestine. However, the specific issue of like Zionism, you can. I do absolutely believe you can question it. You will be canceled in a lesser sense. Like, you know, CNN doesn't want to have Noam Chomsky on if he's talking about Israel and Palestine. Well, Noam Chomsky actually just drones on about a bunch of stuff. Like, he'll just start talking and it won't stop. But yeah, like in general, they will want like more pro-Israel stuff on the media, and they will usually go for that. But like I do think that there's definitely still a place that, you know, you can question like the whole Israel-Palestine thing. But I mean, still in politics, there's no question. Yeah, everyone's like, oh my goodness, they're gonna shut you down. No, like this is not this. The thing about the Israel-Palestine question is that it's not even relevant to anything racial about Jews, because, you know, again, like the leftists who are anti-Israel, they are like the biggest race cucks. You know, they hate white people just as much as everyone else. In fact, they hate Israel because they think Israel is white. They're like, Israel is white colonizers. So because of that, speaking against it, and mind you, like freaking George Soros is basically Israel skeptical. Like a bunch of like the big... Okay, I don't want to talk about whatever. There are some things I can't say on YouTube. I'm not afraid about talking about Israel and Palestine. But still, I give no endorsement. Like, I'm not giving a full-throated endorsement to Palestine. All I'm saying is, like, from what I know, it usually seems like, you know, I guess, like, the Palestinians, for however bad they are, you know, I kind of sympathize with their plight a little bit more. And I do have Middle Eastern friends who will try and give the big brain take in the Middle East, because obviously most of the Middle East is like, screw Israel, right? But I've had Middle Eastern friends who kind of like, yeah, well, yeah, Israel's bad, but Palestinians, they actually suck, man. Like they pretend to be persecuted when they're really not. They like do all this fake news stuff and sure, like whatever. I don't know about it. Like that's all I'm gonna say. Like, Jews aren't like Luke 2022. I mean, Jews do not perceive themselves as being identical to whites. I don't think that's a controversial thing to say. Or, you know, maybe if it's rhetorically convenient for them, they will or will not. Okay, but that's not. You know, the point is, like, when a leftist says something like, "Oh, Jews are like white colonizers," that is obviously not the same thing as, like, you know, Europeans settling in some uninhabited land, you know. All right. The stream includes the Jew and the Zoroastrian, Hitler, Israel, and Palestine. Yeah, we've touched all these hot button issues, but frankly, I haven't even said anything like even that YouTube could ban me for. What have I said? Like, you know, nothing even controversial. Alchemical Sufi sent in some XMR thoughts on tarot cards, based esoteric alchemical symbols or vectors of demonic possession. Also, have you heard of the Meditations on Tarot, A Journey into Christian Hermeticism? I have not heard of that book. Haven't heard of that. Are they based esoteric alchemical symbols or vectors of demonic possession? Realistically speaking, neither. I mean, firstly, tarot cards are just used as playing cards in a lot of European countries. Like, they're nothing... I mean, it's actually... There are interesting games you can play with them. So, it's only... I think in America, maybe in Europe, there's this association, but in America, there's this association with the occult, and you have like, palm readers and stuff like that who will read you fortunes and stuff. I think it's nonsensical. I don't think it's really Lindy. It's kind of a recent development. It's not actually related to alchemy, so far as I know. It's... Do I want to say it's demonic? Not necessarily. I don't know, maybe. I mean, anything could be freaking demonic nowadays, but I mostly think of it as being cringe and just kind of irrelevant. I do actually have a tarot card deck, just because I wanted to learn some of the games to play, but, whatever. Zakir, I read his name before. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, so sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Zakir. He sends in $10. I drink taro milk tea. I'd say it's one of the more masculine of the boba options out there. Anyways, where would a modern churchian go to learn about the early church, traditions, beliefs, etc., relatively uncolored by modern philosophy and lenses? Well, honestly, there are a lot of people nowadays who, there are a lot of Orthodox and Catholic people nowadays out there online. I'm trying to think some that would be adjacent to me. I mean, there's like Roosh V who does Orthodox stuff, but he does a lot more, and he'll blog about books he reads and stuff like that. It might be worth looking at Roosh V. But I mean, in general, like for me, maybe isn't good for everyone, or maybe isn't ideal for everyone. But I got into it like reading stuff. Like I read a lot of Thomas Aquinas' Summa, which is another Lindy book that I plan on publishing. Not his entire Summa because it's way too freaking big. But I was thinking about publishing a book just on sexual ethics, like Aquinas on sex, right? And, I think that'd be a good idea. There's interesting stuff in there. Either way, actually reading some of this stuff, a lot of it isn't hard to read, and you can get a lot from. In the case of Aquinas might be a little late. I mean, he's not early church, but he's still building off a similar worldview. I mean, he has more of an Aristotelian worldview. But he does have this nice way of writing where, for any theological issue, I don't know if I'm lecturing the choir on this, but for any theological issue, he actually starts, let's say, does God exist? So he'll start with the question, does God exist? Then he'll make a couple arguments against God existing. He'll be like, oh, it seems God doesn't exist because, this reason, right? Then he'll, go to scriptural authority and then address, like basically make a response and respond to each of the arguments in kind, right? So for each of the 5 arguments against, he will make his arguments, right? So that's how the Summa is constructed, and it goes through a lot of different issues, literally everything, like Summa, like a Summa in medieval Latin that more or less was, it's the highest work on it basically tries to encompass everything about a topic. So the Summa Theologiae covers everything theological, right? So I would just recommend reading stuff from people of this period, and I think also historical knowledge, like, what if you're into history. I mean, I guess when I got into traditional theology, I had known that like the church had different interpretations of things like baptism, let's say, than my church growing up, right? So, why did this person postpone his baptism to the end of his life? Okay. Well, it's because their interpretation of baptism was that when you get baptized, like in the Catholic Church, right, baptism remits sins. So it might be best to get baptized right before you die, so you don't have to go to a priest afterwards and stuff like that, right? Anyway, so I would just recommend read early stuff if you can get into it. It might be kind of obtuse if you're unfamiliar with it. But there are people on YouTube and elsewhere who do Orthodox and Catholic stuff and things like that. I would just stray away from Protestants. Not all Protestants are bad, but I will just say they will have a presentist bias in a lot of their stuff. I would read Orthodox is probably the best. It is definitely the best according to me, and a lot of other people, right? So. Yeah, just keep your eyes peeled on that. If you do want Catholic stuff, there are, what is it? What's the Sedevacantist chapel in Florida? I think their YouTube channel is like Roman Catholic Media. And they have some pretty good sermons and like lectures and stuff. You can check that out too. But Orthodox is probably better. Just search for that. I guess the only person I mentioned was Roosh V, who's, you know, a lay guy, but whatever. Apostolic Fathers, Holmes is interesting. I actually haven't read that many of the Apostolic Fathers myself. So, I mean, a lot of the stuff I read, you probably notice, even though, you know, I lean more to Orthodoxy, I've probably read more Catholic and medieval stuff. Brad says, thoughts on the Western esoteric tradition. Interesting takes last stream on alchemy. How do you feel about Renaissance Kabbalah, Hermeticism, and its extensions into the 19th and 20th century occultism? The more modern it is, the more nonsensical it is. Hermeticism, I mean, originally alchemy is like a Hermetic worldview. And Hermeticism, of course, dates back to, you know, around at least the time of Christ. According to lore, it dates back, you know, way later, but or way earlier. But yeah, all the later stuff, like the John Dee and afterwards, I think is kind of nonsense. Kabbalah, I just kind of dismiss it. Like it's more like around the 15th and 16th centuries. A lot of people just kind of did occultism as a meme. And really, even the term occultism, I think, is nonsensical, and I think people shouldn't use it. Because, you know, alchemy in the Middle Ages, or Hermeticism, they were not thought of these, like, dark arts or anything weird. They were thought of just, I mean, alchemy was just chemistry. It was just how you look at physical, you know, you analyze physical stuff. And Hermeticism was just a philosophical view in the same way that Platonism and Aristotelianism is. And it's in many ways analogous to philosophies we're familiar with. I know in that episode of Not Related, I did talk about, you know, how Stoic philosophy is similar to Christian theology. But Hermeticism is kind of the same thing. Like you know, the Hermetic corpus, if you think that it's written after Christianity, it's definitely the case that it was influenced by Christian thinking. You read like the cosmology, or the cosmogony, I should say, and, you know, basically, it has a cosmogony very similar to, like, the Christian view, where God, you know, God creates the world, but, you know, what extends first from God is the Logos. And, you know, that has meanings in Neoplatonism as well. But, you know, obviously in the Christian theological tradition, that's Jesus, or Jesus in his pre-incarnate form. But, you know, anyway, all of that stuff is analogous. I would just say, like, the later stuff, Kabbalah, Renaissance stuff, like, it might be worth looking at. Like, there's some stuff in my alchemy reader that is gonna, like, I almost put a Ficino work, but I couldn't get the freaking license for that, because, again, I think I complained about in the last stream, someone put a restrictive license on it. But I do think I have, let's see what the latest thing I have in terms of time here. I do have some stuff from Paracelsus. So he is like 15th century, but that's about the latest stuff. Most of the stuff I have is like early medieval, where things are like less, it's like less occult stuff. It's more like science and philosophy. That's more or less what it is. So I'm not a big fan of occultism or any of this like this like weird stuff. I think it's kind of nonsensical. But alchemy, you know, at the time, alchemy was considered just a sensible science. And I think if people understood it correctly, they would understand, oh, it was a sensible science. It kind of still is. You can look at things from that direction. But, you know, whatever. Okay. Let me check donations. Okay. Don't see any. Okay, I think I've talked about enough, so I think I'm gonna go home. Go home. Why did I say go to bed? We've been going for freaking 3 hours. Oh, I see. Hold on. I see some YouTube super chats. So someone whose name I can't see because YouTube CSS is mentally retarded said, oh, actually, I can probably get rid. Let me get rid of this. No, I can't get rid of that. Okay, someone says, I can't see your name, sorry. But you say, I remember you citing someone who said to just open a normie newspaper and see how much they screw up reporting on your particular field of expertise. So that's the Murray-Gell-Mann effect. So the Murray-Gell-Mann effect is the fact that if you read anything specialized in a newspaper about something you know about, you're going to realize how retarded the journalist is and how they get everything wrong, every detail they arrogantly state, and they're wrong about absolutely everything. And you look at this and you're like, wow, this guy's totally stupid. Journalists are retarded. And that's on a field you understand. And then you turn the page and you read something about Russia and Ukraine, which you don't know about, and you automatically assume that, oh, well, they must be telling the truth about this. They must know what they're talking about. So that's the Murray-Gell-Mann effect. And the reality is, everything in media, if it's there to deceive you, or it's there put by someone who doesn't understand, who is doing the job. I mean, journalism is a job where your power is maximalized given your ability, right? You have enormous amounts of power, and basically you don't know what you're talking about. It's like your responsibility is so low, but you have so much control over what's going on. That's like what's most egregious about journalism. Nick says, share your thoughts about slavery in academia. Oh yeah, I didn't know if you meant like slavery. Oh, yeah, I love slavery. No, okay. I don't know how long I'm going to talk about this because I'm getting tired, but yeah, academia sucks. It's like being in a big cult. It's the exact opposite thing of being, intellectually liberated. Just don't do it. If you're anyone who cares about things, if you care about, I don't know, like if you actually care about the issues you're studying, you should not go into academia because you will just get frustrated and you will realize how little they care about any of that crap. Because that's not what academia is about, and you will be a slave to it. Rob says, Luke, have you read anything by Bishop Ryle? If so, what is your view of him? I don't know who that is. I have not read anything by him. Okay, I gotta call it quits. We've been going for 3 freaking hours. This is the longest stream. This might be the longest stream I've ever done. I didn't expect it to be a long stream. I thought it was going to be on... In fact, I started later than I expected. I thought about trying to do a stream in the middle of the day. Maybe so Europores could, be in. But they could do without it. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go take a leak. And I'm going to come back and read the last donations, then I'm leaving. Usually I say, oh, I've been streaming so loud, or streaming so... Now I'm getting words mixed up. I really am. My brain is deteriorating while streaming. But I was going to say, I usually stream so long that my nose starts to itch, and then I'm like, okay, now it's time to go. I don't know why my nose starts to itch. But I've been going and talking so long, my mouth is kind of getting numb at this point. I've been talking too much. My throat is fine. I don't know. Just been moving my mouth too much. All right. A mouth-numbingly long stream. Yeah, that's right. All right, let's see. Last donations. Here's an email, but it's not a donation. It's just a freaking spam. One of the most annoying things, Epic. So the registrar. Now, if I recommend someone to use Epic with a link or whatever, they have an affiliate link. But unfortunately, I don't get paid for it. It's just like they give you a little credit or something. They give you like some amount of store credit, which means nothing. But I'll let people click on it. It saves me a little money. Like I don't need. I think I reserved my domain name for like the rest of my life. I don't need it. But the annoying thing about Epic is every time you recommend, like someone clicks your link, they send you an email about it. And I don't care about it. Like I wish. I even contacted support because they don't give you the option to turn off these emails. I contacted support saying, could you please give me this option? Could you please stop sending me these stupid emails? Like I don't want to hear about it. It is nice to see all the sites that people are buying because they've seen my videos. Okay, but I don't really need to see that, right? It's just a lot of emails. It's like literally, I would estimate when I first did those videos about setting up websites. Let's actually see, hold on. Let's actually see. So let's go in here, and then we'll see Epic Affiliate. Okay, so, oh my goodness. Yeah, in the folder that I created, let's see, one of my old mail archive folders, around when I first started doing those tutorial videos, there are 15,371 people who bought websites over the period of a year or two or something like that, right? And unfortunately, I didn't get paid, I got a little bit of credit for that. Not like it matters. I mean, I'm glad these people are making websites. And I'm glad that there are 15,000 websites that are on the web because, I help someone get websites. That's great. But I didn't need those 15,000 emails, Epic. Could you please turn that off? Could you please? Actually, see, and they use their support email for it, so I can't just block it, because if I need to use Epic support, whatever. Screw it. Screw it. And another one. Oh my goodness. All right. Jeez Louise. Well, let's see what domains they are. I would read them out on stream, but let's see what people are buying. Okay. A lot of people buy their own names. All right. Let me look at the chat. I don't see any more donations, so I might just call it quit. Favorite Apocrypha, Enoch. Which, by the way, you can buy on lendypress.net. Where is it? Where the heck is it? Oh, yeah. The Book of Enoch's, or the Books of Enoch, and the Book of Jubilees, comes with 3 Books of Enoch's. Enoch 1, Enoch 2, and Enoch 3. That is, including the Book of Enoch, the Slavonic Enoch, and the Hebrew, or what, did I call it the Hebrew Enoch? They're called different things. Either way, good book. Oh, it has double columns. And the double columns, they're hard to sell in the abstract, but these actually look really nice. It ended up very readable. It actually helps economize, when you have a different verse on each line. But either way, see, look at this LaTeX magic where it had, wait, is this like the final copy? I want to make sure that there are no screw-ups on that. But yeah, I mean, you got the chapter sides over there. All of this is LaTeX magic. Oh man, I love LaTeX, right? It's so great. It makes my life so much better. But yeah, it comes with the Books of Enoch, including, look at this nice title. I love LaTeX so much, man. I just love it. It's really Garamond, the font. Isn't it so fantastic? Filter by keyword unique to those emails. Yeah, I mean, that would be what a smart person who knew about systems administration and email and stuff like that and servers, he would do that. But, I'm evidently retarded. Yeah, to be honest, I guess I didn't block them because, I mean, every time I was like, okay, no big deal. I'm just getting more emails. And, it is kind of nice to see the domains that come in, just to be like, oh, this domain, here are all the funny domains that people buy or whatever. Because I can see that. I only see first purchases. Do you have an Odyssey? Like the book, The Odyssey? Yes, I do. It's over. Or are you talking about the website? Or the video site? I do have one of those too. You can just search me. I'll be there. I bought the Enoch and Jubilees for my mom. She's enjoying it. Hey, that's cool. That's very cool. That was actually the first book I sold. Before I even mentioned the site on YouTube, one of my friends bought this. Not a friend I expected to buy this, but I just mentioned to some people I bought it, and he was my first real purchase, so I'm very happy about that. I actually really like, looking at this again, the 2-column thing actually worked out really well. I should probably use that for other things. Also, the Book of Jubilees, that's kind of like, it's like a commentary on Genesis, sort of. It's like, talking about Genesis from another perspective, more or less. Linux Libertine is better than Garamond. Wrong. Do you want NVIDIA to open source their drivers? Do I want them to give me billions of dollars? Yes. I want a lot of things. They're not going to do it. I can't imagine them doing it. Unless there's some economic reason for them to do it. I've heard about people like trying to petition them, which just seems kind of silly. Lunu XMR Forever sent in some XMR. What's your favorite John Zorn record? I don't know who that is. Sorry. You guys know I don't know music. Have you watched Esoterica YouTube channel? Dude is based. Is he? See, I don't know. Whenever you see esoteric stuff, I just automatically assume it's unbased. It's probably pretty cringe. I mean, I say that, again, like I'm publishing an alchemy reader thing, but yeah, all this like magic crap and like, I don't know, all this occult stuff, I think it's nonsensical. And as I said in the last stream, Roger Bacon, who I have a pretty good, work by him in here called The Nullity of Magic or The Non-Existence of Magic. I haven't actually, different translations call it different things. It's originally written in Latin. This is English. All this is English. But the point he makes is he drew the dividing line basically on a Greek word, depending on which disciplines use this word that means divination versus something else. Either way, it's not important for us. But he I guess I agree with him in his analysis in that things like alchemy should really be looked at as a proto-science. And it had a systematic worldview. It was often couched in obscurantist words, but fundamentally, it was a physicalist like science that didn't try, like, it's not like trying to summon demons, which a lot of these esoteric people, it's just a bunch of like, I don't know, like faux spirituality, kind of anti-Christian, like, I don't know, it's just a bunch of, I mean, not even anti-Christian, like, I'm spiritual but not religious people. It's either inane or it's like demonic. I don't know which is worse. Maybe it's both, but I don't know. I'll look at this channel though. He might indeed be based. I'll have to see. I'll write it down. I'll put it in my notes thing. I'm not gonna dismiss him out of hand. But I will just say, like, the guy asked a little bit ago, like, what about later esotericist crap? All, like, theosophy, I think, is nonsensical. The woman who founded theosophy is, like, crazy. And it's just, like, Freemasonry, basically. Freemasonry is all we have to show for all these years of Hermeticism and alchemy. It's just, like, this freaking religion that's supposed to be every religion, and, whatever. And I don't endorse it. Luke, what's your favorite food? Also, what's the point of life? Meat. That's the answer to both questions. That's a joke. Yeah, meat. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Meat, and to bring glory to God. Those are your two questions. Is using Shopify dumb? Is there a better alternative for lots of products? I mean, Lindy Press originally was going to use Shopify, which I'm glad it's not. But, you know, I had a guy help me write some software for it, so thankfully. I don't know if there's like a one better product that I could recommend. I'm not quite sure. Okay, I know I said I'm going to call it quits. Usually if I say I'm quitting the live stream, that means I will quit the live stream in 1 hour. And I think an hour has come. I'm done. Okay. Yeah, I'm done. I'm just going to go sleep here. Oh, yeah, the other thing about this chair. Oh, yeah. Oh, that feels good. I'm just sleeping here. Maybe I'll just sleep on stream. I'll just forget to turn off my my camera. Okay, one last check. I should check super chats too, just in case there's something else. No, I don't see anything new. Sorry if I missed any super chats. I tried to get them all, but that's all I can do. Gotta go to bed. Got to go to bed. Are you gonna have a stream schedule? I might. I've been thinking about that. I might. I've actually thought about doing Monday in the afternoon. Maybe basically maybe a couple hours before I started the stream. I've also thought about Fridays or weekends, but I can't necessarily guarantee that. I probably have too many social arrangements. It sucks. But it depends on the weekend. I might prefer to do one on Friday or Saturday if I can, but Monday might be a good idea. So, all right. So, I guess that's about it. I'll see you guys. Thanks for donators. Remember, get some XMR if you haven't gotten some already, and that. Sorry, I was reading something else. I'm so tired. Yeah, get some XMR. That's the best way to donate. You can use donate.lukesmith or whatever if you want next time. But either way, I am planning on doing another episode of Not Related this month. And aside from that, yeah, that's about it. Thanks for everyone for showing up. I gotta go to sleep. It's way too late. It's almost 11.